All right, guys. Um, Welcome back. Sorry, I'm already caught off guard because my my streaming software is glitching out for some reason. Why? How is it? I need to ask because I see people pointing out that yes, this is the third time I'm trying to stream today. I was just playing with Boss here a little bit. Is everything good? Is everything coming through good? Audio, visual. Yeah, Boss is gonna act like he doesn't want to destroy this thing now. That's cool. That's cool. I'll leave it there. All right, everything's good. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Welcome. Welcome back to the stream. Yes, it's true. This is the third time I am attempting to stream today because YouTube was having some serious issues across the board. And I happened to schedule my stream earlier at a time when they were having, like, I don't know, a meltdown or something. And for those who don't believe me, because I was trying to figure out, like, is it me? Is it my internet? Is it YouTube? It was definitely YouTube. On Twitter, they put out a post saying that they were aware of the issues and they would, update us and everything. I don't know if they ever gave us that update, but I figured, I'll try one more time in the evening. And everything seems to be working okay now. Hopefully it stays that way. So thank you guys so much for being here. Jake, you're saying actually happy the clocks go back tonight now. Wait, do they? Really? Wow, that makes today all the more strange. Is that true? No, I don't think so. At least where I am. At least in the United States, it says November 5th. That would have been weird. Oh, it's UK. Okay. Got me real confused there for a second. But yeah, so I have a super chat from New Soul 9. I'll read that. Well, actually, I'll read that now because it is relevant. New Soul 9 says, MBG, are we going to start all over from the topics, or are we going to resume from the last stream? Also, are you going to stream Alan Wake 2 for members? To answer the question about Alan Wake 2, I'm not sure yet. Honestly, I have to kind of reevaluate how I'm going to do members content in general. And just reevaluating certain things in terms of scheduling. As for like whether or not I'm going to stream Alan Wake 2, not going to make any promises. If I do, I'll definitely let you know. I'm more likely to stream something like Spider-Man 2 before that, though. But when it comes to are we going to start over from the topics, I am simply, well, here's the thing. A lot of the conversation we had in the stream earlier, it lasted about an hour or so, was mainly with super chats. And we did talk a little bit about some of the topics, but we didn't really get deep into it. In fact, as soon as I was about, oh, wait, hold on. Is it about to happen? Come on, Leia. I'm trying, dude, both my cats going to be up here at the same time. That never happens. Come on, Leia. She's acting shy. All right, I won't bother her. But yeah, I'm gonna go over it again because there is I was actually, I had to stop the stream basically as soon as we got to the first main topic, and I was trying to read through it. So yeah, there is something I want to do though to have a little bit of fun before we get into the topics. There's a new Mighty Keef video out. And I think it's titled something like how Xbox fans reacted when Spider-Man 2 released or something. I figure we could just, it's only like 3 minutes. We could just watch that and react to it to kind of kick off the stream. And I also don't know that this stream is going to be as long as they normally are because not only is it a little bit later, but again, I did stream for like an hour and a half earlier just with a lot of issues. So you're saying Donkey uploaded his review of Spider-Man 2? Maybe we'll check that out. Not sure yet. And we have Josh Z. He says, have to acknowledge the passing of Matthew Perry. We all lost a friend. Yeah, rest in peace, Matthew Perry. That is really sad. I saw that last night. Apparently he drowned in his jacuzzi, which, I mean, that's just so crazy to imagine. It maybe people were saying maybe he fell asleep or he got, I don't know. I mean, it's either way, it's extremely depressing because, yeah, I've enjoyed Friends over the years, and Chandler was always my favorite character. I always liked Matthew Perry as well, but man, that's he was, I think, 54 years old, so definitely not that old at all. Yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere, man. I think what's sad is like Matthew Perry had trouble with drugs and substance abuse, and it was like a big part of his life, and he apparently overcame it. And it's like, God, man, you know, terrible way to go out. But rest in peace, nonetheless. So yeah, absolutely, Josh, I do agree. It has to be acknowledged. All right, so do me one favor, guys, before we kick this off. Take a second of your time, hit that like button for me. I'd really appreciate that. If you do enjoy the streams, if you enjoy the content, hit that like button. And I just want to acknowledge, just for anybody who may be new here, we do get new viewers each week. A couple ways you can support my channel. Donating a super chat, as you see. Really appreciate that. Ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, whatever it is. Helps the channel out directly, and I very much appreciate it. Become a channel member. If you're already a channel member, please consider gifting channel memberships. It is worth noting we did actually get 30 memberships gifted today. I should probably add that to the counter, actually, because we did get up to 30 memberships earlier, and I noticed now that that was wiped clean. But yeah, if you are a channel member, consider giving out some memberships if that's something you feel inclined to do. Not only does it help out the community, obviously, but it helps me out a lot as well. So big shout out to everybody who continues to do that. And so, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go check out, we're going to go check out Mighty Keef's video. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Oh, now it's not showing up. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Give me just a sec. Where's it at? Where's it at? Mighty Keef. There we go.
I am.
Oops. All right. His intro gets me every time. And we'll bring it up right here. All right, let's it just looks like I framed Boss sleeping here. It should be showing up. Well, that's odd. There we go. All right. Yeah, so the video is titled How Xbox Fanboys Reacted to Spider-Man 2. I have not seen this yet. So I'm pretty interested to see what he ends up doing here. I've always enjoyed Mighty Keef's skits.
Mighty Keef.
Oh man, already starting off strong. Oh shit.
Nah. I don't care what anyone says. Starfield is game of the year.
Dude, the music in the background. The music in the background.
Game of the generation.
Game of the generation.
You think I care what those biased journalists say? They just want Xbox to lose. Bro, when Spider-Man comes out, it's gonna get like an 80. 90 and above is reserved for just Batman. Spider-Man?
For just Batman.
Really? When Forza 5 is right there?
Dude, it's really like that, though.
I mean, I'd rather be driving in a Ferrari than swinging in New York City. Yeah.
It's really like this, though. Wow.
I'd rather be in space fighting the Crimson Fleet and loading up sandwiches and other useless stuff in my cargo.
Loading up sandwiches.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I'd
man.
rather be shrunken down to the size of an ant. Survival crafting with 3 other friends in a backyard.
Is he talking about Grounded?
Of someone I don't know, fighting off spiders and other various bugs. Yes, sir.
What?
Spider-Man. I'm not even gonna review well, I bet.
Oh man. All right.
What, man? Hey, buddy. I'm just calling to see if you read the reviews. Reviews of what? Oh, don't worry about it, broski. I got you. Release me, you demon.
What the hell?
I just wanted to make sure you saw it. Universally acclaimed. Must play. 90 on Metacritic. Ooh. Don't you ever do that shit again. Now tell me, why couldn't Starfield get these type of reviews? Because, unlike Sony, Microsoft doesn't pay for reviews. What is your source for that? I don't need one. I'll just say it on Twitter.
I don't need
They'll
one.
believe me. I want y'all to come out with better games. You're
Holy
stinking
shit.
up the industry. And I want you to get rid of those bugs in Spider-Man 2. And I'm not talking about Peter or Miles. Buddy, I'd rather play Cyberpunk than Starfield. I'd rather play Batman Arkham than Spider-Man. At least my game scored in the 90s. At least people will play my game for more than just a weekend. Game of generation? How about you generate better faces?
Oh man. He had to do it.
Take that back. I'm tired of this dude, bro. I'm gonna go find him. I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind.
Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. No way.
Which console do you think really produced the best games this year? What y'all talking about in here, huh? Who you speaking on? The exclusives that came out this year?
Nintendo.
Well,
Dude, Nintendo
I wouldn't
always
know
comes
anything
in.
about that except the Tears of the Kingdom that dropped this year, but that's about it. Oh, and Pikmin 4. Super Mario Wonder. Mario RPG coming out later this year. Pokemon DLC. You
Holy
know Pokemon,
shit.
right? The game last year that sold
Nintendo is the
2
GOAT.
million copies in 2 days. What would y'all know about that? Nothing. You don't know shit about it. But that's all. Except a new Kirby also dropped. Fire Emblem Engage.
Oh my god, dude.
I'm gonna let y'all do y'all thing.
It's too good.
Boy, that's just crazy.
Dude, it's too good. Holy shit, man. It's perfect. That's a masterpiece right there. I mean, he perfectly encapsulated the last, 5 to 6 weeks on the internet. Absolutely. That's so funny that he has Nintendo come in at the end and just own everybody. Good stuff, man. I had to open the stream with this. And it was worth it. Absolutely worth it. So, all right. Got to set the tone, you know? Got to make sure I set the tone for the stream. All right, let me go check on what you guys are saying here. Yeah, dude, the loading screen was random. Donkey time, maybe at the end. Maybe at the end of the stream. I don't want to linger too much here. I know you guys have been waiting for me to get into the topics. Some people have been waiting since 12 p.m. today. So I have 2 super chats here. One from Anthony O. He says, in my opinion, Spider-Man 2 is disappointing. Lazy, predictable story, no real narrative or character evolution, uninspired boss fights. Was expecting something much bolder and darker. That's an interesting take, and I think it's a fair take to an extent. You're definitely not the only one I've seen expressing some disappointment in Spider-Man 2, but at the same time, I don't know that I agree with it entirely. There are certain aspects that I feel like I could agree with. For example, the game wasn't nearly as dark in some ways than, or as I expected. Not going to get into any spoilers, of course, but you're saying you expected something much bolder, something much darker. I agree with that. The uninspired boss fights, I don't know how I feel about the boss fights, really. I mean, I think what makes this tough for me is that, I'm well aware when I'm playing Spider-Man 2 that this game is not made for, the hardcore gamer, necessarily, right? It's made for a more casual audience, frankly. It's made for an audience where it's I'm not, I guess I'm just saying that when I am encountering a boss battle in Spider-Man 2, I'm not necessarily expecting it to be the most intricate or in-depth or just mechanically, complex boss battle. But I do get what you're saying. There definitely were. One thing I noticed when I was playing the boss battles, maybe it's a skill issue, but man, I was dying like more than I expected. I don't know if it's because I just wasn't really used to the parry mechanic. So I don't want to say like they were super easy. I mean, there were a couple times I was like, why am I struggling this much? I feel like I definitely shouldn't be. But I get what you're saying. A lot of the boss battles ended up feeling rhythmically very much the same. There was one moment in Spider-Man 2 that really just kind of blew my mind. And I'm not gonna talk about it just yet because I know that there are people who haven't completed it, but I think it's a fair criticism of the game, honestly, because I will say this. Spider-Man 2 is ultimately more divisive than I expected it to be, like from top to bottom, in terms of the story, in terms of, I mean, even with like the side content and whatnot. I mean, it just, again, when I think about the conversation and the way people were talking about Spider-Man 2018 versus now Spider-Man 2 is out, it just seems like the conversation is not as one-sided. Whereas with Spider-Man 2018, it was just universally like, this game's incredible and amazing. And I feel like with Spider-Man 2, there's a lot of this game is incredible and it's amazing, but there's a lot more stuff that's not that, you know? And Anthony, I think if anything, maybe your super chat here is kind of a indicator of that. MBG, the user score is 9.1. It's not divisive. I'm talking generally about the conversation surrounding it. Keep in mind the conversation surrounding Spider-Man 2 might not at all be indicative of like how people like the masses actually feel about it. So either way, though, Anthony, I do appreciate the super chat, man, and to each their own. Everybody has their own opinion on the game, you know. Easy E with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. You're saying, MBG, you and your audience should look into Sweet Baby Inc. They are a consulting firm with big studios like Insomniac and Remedy to push the whole push woke political ideology and communist propaganda on games. Interesting. I never heard of this company. Sweet Baby Incorporated. Sweet. I'll try to remember that. Maybe you might have to remind me, Easy E, at the end of the stream, or maybe we could look into it a little bit later, because that's not necessarily a topic I have lined up. But yeah, I talked about some of this, and I'm not going to dive into it again because I think it's my last stream, or maybe even the one before that. I talked about it for a while, but I don't understand that. That just sounds weird to me. You know, the idea like you hire a company to consult with you for like certain political ideologies. That's very strange to me. I don't understand it. You're saying Sweet Baby Inc. is blocking everybody. It's because, you know what it is? I just think people are tired of it, you know? They are. And I mean that in a very literal way. Like, I think people are just getting exhausted of just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think at one point, and maybe still to an extent, it's like, it's triggering to people and it's frustrating. But I think it's actually just finally gotten to that point where it's like, we're just so tired, you know, like generally speaking, we're just tired. And I think that's what it's really starting to boil down to, because that's how I feel. I don't know if I speak for everybody, but I that is how I feel, not just with Spider-Man, not just with video games, but across the board in general. It's just, yes, it's actually, you're right. It's having the opposite effect where it's like, I'm tired, boss. You know, I am. But Easy E, I appreciate you letting me know about that. Maybe I'll look into it. That is certainly interesting, and I have not heard of this. So yeah, I'll have to look into it. Let me see here. Shane Ramsey, member for 35 months. Thank you so much, Shane. Longtime member. You're saying almost at 3 years. Thanks for the awesome content. Much love from Australia. No problem, man. I really appreciate that. Been a member for almost 3 years, which is crazy. Thank you so much for that long time support, bud. It really does mean a lot, and I'm glad you enjoy the content. Certainly glad. So with that being said, though, I am going to just dive into the first topic here because, again, like it's something I started to get into earlier, but the stream basically broke. So I have an article here from CNBC.com, and they did an interview with Eric Lempel. Eric Lempel is the person you see on the thumbnail of this stream. He is doing the press run that Jim Ryan would normally do. Now, Jim Ryan's going to be retiring, so I guess with that, he's also not going to be talking to the media anymore. So now Eric Lempel is, and it's interesting because Eric Lempel, apparently, some PlayStation fans have been saying he's likely in the running to be the next PlayStation CEO. And I do find it interesting that the timing of this, he's now giving us information. He talks about some pretty key and important things in this interview. It's not very long, but again, some of the things he talks about are important, and I think it gives us a clear answer right now in this moment how Sony is responding or plans to respond to the Activision Blizzard deal closing. Not to say that it won't change. It absolutely could change. In fact, it's likely to change, but this is what Sony is saying right now directly to the press publicly, and so we have to cover it and go over it. Nemesis with a $5 super chat says, we just need to accept that anything and everything Sony does will be divisive. It doesn't matter what the nature is. People just complain to complain. So that I do agree with to an extent, Nemesis, where Sony is in this position, and I know this for a fact because I saw Microsoft in this exact same position at certain points where, you know, people were complaining about things that Microsoft was doing where it's like, look, I have problems with Microsoft, maybe even a lot of problems with what Microsoft's doing. But I saw people just kind of talking about things and bringing things up where it's like, you're just reaching, or you're just trying to find things that I don't know. Like, I don't know why. And I think it just became obvious that the popular thing to do was to dogpile, and that just kind of comes with the territory. And what the problem with that is that that's what makes people so defensive, and then that's what kind of feeds into the whole console war cycle. But in reality, I think now we're seeing that happen with Sony, where yes, Sony is not perfect right now. I don't think they ever have been perfect, but they've made a couple mistakes, or they're doing some what we would consider anti-consumer things, or I don't even know if anti-consumer is the right word. Just they're not being as consumer friendly as Microsoft is, and because of that, it's highlighted. And you know, these are things that we talk about, that we criticize, that you know, we give our opinions on, we try to be fair about, but you can kind of tell right now that it is simple. I mean, let's just face it, guys. The popular thing right now is to shit on PlayStation and Sony and PlayStation fans. That's just the way it is. I mean, I could try to go over the reasons why that is. And you know, there'd be some reasons that are valid. There'd be others that are not, but that's just how it is. And it will change eventually, assuming that Sony has plans, you know, to reveal more games and, you know, step it up in 2024. Assuming they have plans to do that, it will change. It's just right now, like I said, Spider-Man 2 is more than enough, as we're about to go over, to carry Sony for the remainder of this year into 2024. But Spider-Man 2 is not enough to stop the bandwagon hating of this brand and its fans. And I don't think there's necessarily a problem with it. It's the nature of the beast. It happens to Microsoft. It happens to Sony. It's just a pendulum that swings back and forth. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to here, Nemesis. You're saying people complain just to complain. Dude, I'm telling you, Twitter's the craziest place, man. Like, I put out a tweet yesterday where I was just simply stating that, you know, Sony has been more consistent with game output this generation so far, seemingly, than they were last generation. And I was just simply pointing out that anybody who's saying that Sony's on the ropes or Sony's doomed or Sony's finished, it's just not. It's ridiculous. Like, that's very far from the truth. And I also made it clear that there are some concerns. Like, yeah, we do have things we should be concerned about if you're somebody who cares about PlayStation and the future of it. But I think it's kind of wild that there's this notion out there, and again, this is just kind of the dogpiling in effect, where it's over. It's like, no, it's like there's literally nothing here to indicate that. If you want to say it could be bad next year because we don't have a roadmap, sure, but there's only things in front of us right now to confirm that things are actually pretty good and they're likely to get better. But there is always the chance it could get worse. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that, dude, the people, okay, let me back up here. Shit has gotten so crazy out here that people were agreeing with Crap Gamer. Okay? Because Crap Gamer actually replied to that tweet and he had a list. He just listed all the negative things or perceived negative things with Sony this generation. And people were in agreement with him. And that told me everything I need to know, where it's like, this is getting, okay, Leia, this is getting out of hand. Where it's like, dude, do people know who they're agreeing with right now? Like, do they actually know who they're agreeing with? And, people were like, oh, well, he called out Microsoft and everything else and it's like, okay, listen, I'm not going to get into this, but it just proves that right now, there's the only thing that is going to change the online narrative about Sony is them coming out, showing games, and shutting people up. That's it. Like that, there's nothing else. It doesn't matter that they had a launch lineup this generation and their competition didn't. It doesn't matter that in 2022, Sony had 3 AAA games from their biggest studios back to back to back, and their competition had 0 games. None of that matters now. And that's what I realize is that, Leia, what are you doing? You say MBG turn around. I don't know what she's doing back there, man. I always get nervous when she jumps up there because I'm always afraid she's gonna like start swiping shit down, which would actually be pretty funny. But the truth right now and the reality seems to be that none of this matters. Anything that Sony has done well this generation, any games that they've released, the consistency at which they release those games, like, yes, I've already acknowledged 2023 is a down year. Yes. 2023 is not the most consistent year from Sony. But what I didn't expect is how quickly the goodwill would be burned up. But I guess that's just, again, the nature of the beast, where it's like, no one cares. Like, no one cares about any of the good things that have come from Sony this generation so far. The only thing they care about is that Microsoft bought Activision. Sony didn't buy anybody other than, I think most recently Bungie or whatever. And Sony had a weak year. I mean, there are people making arguments about like how Microsoft had a much better year than Sony did this year. And it's like, I don't know what were you guys saying last year? Like it took Microsoft almost 3 years into this generation to actually start outputting games. And what I don't understand is that the people who are the most vocal right now, and I want really think about this for a moment, the people who are most vocal right now, a lot of them, and when I say most vocal, I mean the people who are shitting the most on Sony and trying their hardest to make it seem like shit is in some kind of free fall. These are the same people that were, just out here defending Microsoft all throughout last generation. All through the entire generation. They hung, and I'll give them that credit, dude. They hung on. I didn't. Fuck that. You guys know 2017, 2018, 2019, I saw what Microsoft was doing. I'm like, this shit sucks. And Sony's putting out banger after banger after banger. So I'm going to go play their games. And I never looked back, right? But some of these people actually stayed and they hung on. And now that after all these years later, Microsoft is finally seemingly turning it around and buying publishers and getting Game Pass on a roll and starting to put out games. I mean, they're out here fucking beating their chest, acting like, Sony's fucking getting straight up just run over by a tank here. And so you would think that these would be the people more than anybody to know. That's not how this works. Like, you guys were there when people were telling you Xbox is dead. They are done. Stick a fork in them. They're done. And they were like, no, they hung out. They held on to hope. They hung out and they said, we believe in Xbox. We believe in Phil Spencer. They're going to come back. And it may have taken many years, but they're finally starting to, turn the corner. And and now some of these same people are out here saying that that's the position Sony's in. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like you lived through that. That that's not how this works. So it's very bizarre to witness, man. It is very bizarre to witness. What I can tell you is that there are a lot of people who were just kind of, they're bandwagoners. They just kind of jump on whatever's popular. That's what people accused me of, right? They're like, oh, MBG, you left Xbox when they were down and you went to PlayStation because it was a popular thing to do. Like, no, I don't know why these people continue to say these things when it's like, how could I have not made it more clear that I went to PlayStation because they put out good games? It's just that simple. Like it doesn't get any. There isn't any more to it than that. I wish there was. I'd have more to say, but that's all it ever was. And right now, Microsoft, they're starting to put out games, and I've always made it clear that if Microsoft starts to put out any games that I'm genuinely interested in, yeah, I'll go play them. It's not a big deal. I don't know. It's I don't know, man. Shit is getting weird. It's getting bizarre out here, frankly. Like even Mighty Keef. I've seen him on Twitter. He's getting fucking harassed and shit on by these insane fanboys and these fucking Xbox Twitter users where it's like, what? Like how? It's Mighty Keef, dude. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I digress. Nemesis, you got me going on a tangent here, but I think everybody kind of sees it at this point, and the hard truth that some people right now don't want to accept, I don't know why, it's like not that serious. It's just that Sony's going to be fine. You can hate on them, you can disagree with them, you can, have I seen, really quick, Jake, you're saying, have you seen the weird video with the Spider-Man 2 director? What video are you referring to? I know that the director of the game has been making the rounds. Nemesis, you don't have to be sorry, man. It's okay. He said I had to get that off my chest. I mean, it is what it is, man. It's bad on both sides. Like I know I'm pointing out like the Xbox fans, but they're PlayStation fans that do it too, obviously. And if anything, there were PlayStation fans doing it last generation, and that's kind of why there's this seesaw effect happening. But I just think people get too crazy with it anymore, where it's like, it's the Wired. The Wired video. Oh, I don't know why I read that, the weird video. I was like, what weird video? I actually saw that pop up in my feed. But I didn't actually watch it yet. I'll have to see if I end up watching it or not. But anyway, Nemesis, I'm sorry. I keep going on here. I appreciate the super chat, buddy. We have Ruben Jackson. I think it says here this is his first time. Yeah, it says here this is his first time super chatting. Really appreciate that, man. Thank you. You're saying here, confused about the complaints about wokeness in Spider-Man 2. It's the most basic level of representation you'd expect of a game taking place in a modern New York City. Seems like culture war nonsense to me. You know what is interesting about that, Ruben? I actually do agree that in terms of like showing off a relatively realistic like representation of modern day New York, you're actually not wrong about that. And you know, this is why let me say this. I think I'm at 95% completion for Spider-Man 2. And now that I'm almost like completely done with the game, my basic feeling on it is there are things in here that undeniably, and I'm not saying it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it is undeniable. Like, yeah, they're trying to show you different things that in some instances, you know, because of the way things are interpreted and perceived on the internet, like you're saying here, culture war nonsense. I mean, it's like a chicken and egg situation where it's like, which is it here? Because the culture war, was that what started it? Right? Like, and then now things that were always there are now being hyper fixated on, or is it the other way around? And I do think some people take it too far, and I think that's what bothers me more than anything, is that I see people get too crazy. Again, it's kind of a common theme here. It's like a common theme in 2023 and probably will be going forward, where people get too crazy over shit. Like, I'm seeing people go, like, still, I'm just seeing the videos pop up on my feed, like, about Mary Jane. And it's like, I can't tell. Like, I can't tell if is it this upsetting to people? Like, genuinely. Like, it's really, really bothering them that much. Or is this just for content's sake? Because, listen, I get it. Fact, MJ, at least for me, I look at MJ in this game, I compare it to the last game. Something looks a little bit off about her in this game. Okay? I'm not, but at the same time, like, I see people losing it like she's a fucking hideous monster and blah, blah, and like, they ruined it. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you like, why are you going this ballistic over something like this? But then here's the thing. Now it's not about the way she looks anymore. Now it's, well, they have MJ missions in the game, and they made her overpowered. She's more powerful than Spider-Man and Miles Morales. I'm like, you guys need to fucking go outside. And I'm not like defending like some of the woke shit that's going on out there, because that shit annoys me too. But Jesus, you guys are, you see what I'm saying? Like, you guys are no different than the thing you claim to be against sometimes, because it's like you're crying and screaming and throwing a fit because there are some sections of a game or in Spider-Man 2 where you play as MJ and she's capable. Like, I had fucking fun playing those sections. And this is, I just think, where I'm like, what is going on in these people's minds when they play this shit? Because when I was playing the MJ sections, I was thinking, wow, this is a vast improvement over the MJ sections in the first game, and I'm actually having some fun. I'm like, this is like some Metal Gear shit now. Sneaking around, stunning people. This is good. And I go on the internet and I'm seeing people going ballistic because it's like, she's OP to Spider-Man and Miles Morales have to beat the shit out of people for like 5 minutes and she just gets to zap them. It's like, what are you? And this to me is just where it's like, yeah, it's just two sides of the same coin here, man. It's just two sides of the same coin here, where people they're always going to find something to be outraged about. And I'll admit, sometimes I get caught up in it too. I think that's just kind of the hard part about being engaged on the internet and paying attention to stuff, is you start to get swayed or influenced. And the reality is, they are pushing certain things in Spider-Man 2 that are linked to certain political agendas. That's just a fact. And maybe it is because of the culture war. It doesn't matter. Politics latch on to these certain things, and that's just how it is. So it's always going to be divisive. But what I think people need to really chill out about is they need to stop going berserk over this shit, because the only thing it's doing, you giving such an intense reaction, the people who are constructing this stuff, do you think they're going to give a fuck about what you're saying? Like, do you think, for example, right now, the director of Spider-Man 2 or the writers of Spider-Man 2, you think they're watching these people's videos and saying, wow, thank you for the feedback. We're definitely going to change things up next time around? No, they're not. And, these people will tell you that they're not going to do that because, well, they have their own agendas and they're never going to listen to people like us. No, they're not going to do that because you're being fucking ridiculous about the shit you're focusing on. MJ's too ugly, right? Or, I had to fucking play a mission as a deaf girl or whatever, It's like, this is just where look, man, I don't like shit being shoved down my throat or agendas being pushed, right, shoved in my face. I don't like that either. But sometimes you just have to take a fucking step back and just look at shit for what it is. For what it is. Not what you want it to be, not what you think they made it to be, what it is. What MJ's missions are stealth missions to break up the gameplay flow. Because maybe people forget, but Insomniac at times has gotten criticism for all of these missions feel too samey. You just beat up a bunch of guys and you move on, and you beat up a bunch of guys and you move on, boss battle, rinse and repeat. And people didn't like the way they broke up the missions in the first game because they thought MJ's missions were too boring. It is, listen, I know I'm going off the rails. I know I'm going on a rant, but it's just a prime example of you are damned if you do and you are damned if you don't. And at the end of the day, just speak with your wallets, man. That's all it comes down to. If you are, and I've seen people here saying, I'm not going to buy this game for this reason or that reason. I think that's perfectly fine. Like, that's within your right. If you want to send a message to Insomniac, to Sony, that's how you do it. But it's just, I don't know, man. I just think people sometimes lose the plot. They focus on the wrong things. And as long as they continue to do that, there isn't going to be actual communication happening. Yeah, I saw that on IGN. The director said, I don't give a shit. And good for him, man. Honestly, good for him, because why should he? Why should he? I wouldn't give a shit either. Dude, if I made this Spider-Man game and I saw people complaining because MJ's OP, it's like, grow up, man. Like, really, just like, because yeah, Peter Parker isn't OP. That's another thing, really quick. I'm sorry, I got to go on. I saw people posting clips of here's a compilation of Peter Parker getting fucked up, and it was actually pretty funny to watch. But it was a compilation of all the times Peter in Spider-Man 2 just got like shit thrown at him. He's being smacked around, he's being electrocuted, the whole 9 yards. And people were actually being like, oh, they nerfed him. It's like, if anything, the fact that he can get this fucked up and still come out kicking ass is a testament to how badass of a character he is. Like, you see what I'm saying? People can't take things for what they are. They have to inject this weird shit into it and turn it into something it's not. I thought that, if anything, I don't want to get into spoiler territory. I'm just saying, like, it may, and not only that, from a story. Yeah, exactly. Jake, thank you. It's just weird, man. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there aren't deeper conversations to be had. I just think that people just need to start taking things for what they are. And if it bothers you, just walk the fuck away. Just mildly give your take on it. Like, I don't agree with that. I think this is unnecessary and I don't enjoy it. I'll tell you, you say it in that way, the developers might actually listen because you're not coming off like some kind of raging, like I am right now, like a raging lunatic. Nothing is perfect. There we go. We can conclude there. Nothing is perfect. You're saying whether people complain or not, there won't be communication anyway. If people ask for a balanced experience without the noise of real world politics, we'd be called bigots. Doesn't it seem one-sided? I mean, listen, there's one thing I will agree with is that in video games, it's way like video games the video game industry is a very progressive industry. That is absolutely true. And so because of that, yes, we're going to see things pushed. Now, look, I want to say this right now, okay? Listen, this is a very minor spoiler. It's minor. I'm telling you. This doesn't spoil anything in the story. It's just a side mission. It's not a spoiler, okay? There was this one side mission you do as Peter where he has a flashback. And his flashback is the first time he interacted with J. Jonah Jameson, and he was trying to get to him in time. He was, I think he was like riding a bike. He was trying to get to him in time to give him a picture to see if he could get a job. And, you know, this is a character in the game where, let's be honest, you know, he's looked at as like the asshole, you know, just if you're looking at it from like a political point of view, you know, he's definitely the Republican or whatever. At least that's kind of the vibe I get. And, you know, they're always kind of making him seem just like a shitty character and like he's not good for anything. And although I think he's a funny, I mean, I enjoy his character. I think a lot of people do. But something that I noticed they did in this, and I just don't know. I didn't see anybody talking about this. And I picked up on this, where in this mission, Jonah's being himself, and Peter's kind of like being a bit whiny and complaining and being like, I, you know, and being super passive. And Jonah's like telling him to, you know, be aggressive. And if you want something, go after it. And sometimes, you know, there are going to be obstacles. Go through them, find a way around them. And obviously, like, be a New Yorker, right? Like, this is... And by the end of it, like, I was really curious to see where they went with this, because by the end of that mission, Peter, you know, it was a flashback. So when he comes back to present day, he was, like, reminded that actually taught him a valuable lesson. And ultimately, he learned something very valuable and something good from a character in this game that I think a lot of people look at as a representation of, again, like, you know, a certain side, and it can only be bad. But I just appreciate that, you know, I did say, like, let me put it to you this way. I did say in one of my last streams talking about Spider-Man that, you know, I have a problem in games when they're like only willing to show one side of something, you know, like it is like just one-sided and you don't ever see anything good about the other side. In this case, I kind of picked up on this with that mission that, you know, yeah, basically the mission is saying that Peter was being too much of a pushover, too much of a, you know, nice guy, basically, and kind of a, you know, a baby in a sense. And he ended up learning something, you know, relatively valuable from one of the characters that people would consider not great. So, I don't know. Anyway, totally going off the rails here. Apologize for that. Spider-Man was being a little bitch, is what he was being. Oh, man. All right. I'm sorry. The Panderverse. Oh, shit. Wasn't that like a South Park episode? Show them your manhood. Yeah. Dude, I gotta admit, man, I would like to see more of Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man in the future, because he's just too funny. He's too funny. All right. Mario B is saying with a super chat, the woke politics in the game is really obvious, but I think it's genius that they kept it short. It at least shows they value your time. Yeah, I will say that too. Like there are, like I said, there are certain things you come across where it's like, okay, I get what you're doing here. That's fine. You're being progressive. I don't inherently have a problem with that. It's usually how it's handled, and generally speaking, I think they handled it pretty well. Like I noticed a lot of the stuff was for like side missions, and the side missions are actually pretty short. But really quick, you guys play the again, no spoilers, but who played the Howard mission? See, this is why I just can't have a problem with this game. I just can't. Where it's like I didn't know about that Howard mission, and I was not ready for that mission. Like it wasn't that long. It was a pretty short and to the point side mission, but dude, I legit was just sitting there for like a minute or two afterwards, like just hit me in the feels, man. And I was like, I don't know. It was the music, great mission, and very, very unexpected. I think somebody mentioned a while ago to me that like, oh, there's a Howard mission, and I honestly thought I was going to be collecting pigeons again. That's what I was ready for. So when I came across them, I was like, okay, well, let's collect the pigeons again. And like, no, dude. So I don't, I'm just saying, I'm seeing all these people scream about this and that. I'm over here being like, did you play that Howard mission? Did you play that J. Jonah Jameson mission? Again, like, let's be fair here in our evaluation with this stuff where it's not as insane as people make it sound, at least in my opinion. From what I can tell, I've been watching these videos, I've been listening to what people are saying, I've been coming across some stuff myself, but as I'm about to approach 100% completion of the game, I'm like, all right, guys, come on. Like, at what point is it clear that we're some of you guys are just doing this out of boredom at this point? Like, I think, what I think it is too? I think some people just can't deal with, like, maybe it sounds harsh, but they can't kind of deal with the fact that maybe you just grew out of some shit as well. Or maybe it just, I don't know, evolved into something else that you're just not a fan of anymore. And that's fine. Like, it's okay to just walk away, is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to continually be a fan of something if it's just not speaking to you anymore. That's all. Anyway. All right. Man, I really, really have gone off the rails so far with this stream. It's later too, so I'm definitely more likely to go in different directions here. But Mario, thank you for the super chat. We have Nate the Great, I think is what your name is, and you're saying there's an obvious political slant in entertainment, and it's made people hypersensitive. Very well put. I think honestly that's pretty on point. Where hypersensitive, yeah. And you know why? Because think about it. I think the reason why people are becoming hypersensitive is because there are certain people who are making certain decisions across entertainment that are purposely poking a bit too much. It's like, you know what I mean? Where I think there's a better balance that can be achieved. And I think if you try to respect that balance and try to walk that line a little bit more steadily, it might make it easier for people on both sides to just kind of start to meet in the middle and then go from there. And I think that that's kind of what you're speaking to here, is that, there is a slant in some cases. That is obvious. There's no denying that. And it does make certain people hypersensitive. And those are the two things that get propped up the most. This side really loud and this side's really loud, and they're both in your face. And it's like, what about what about the rest of us who are in the middle here? It's so well said, man. I appreciate that super chat. And Easy E says, nah, man, people should push back and vote with their wallet. If they want representation, then make a game about representation. Don't force it on beloved IP so it's shoved down people's throats. I can understand that as well. Again, I feel like it's tricky subject matter because, I mean, that's kind of the thing here, is maybe just the fact that this is even part of the conversation. And I feel like this wasn't part of the conversation in the first game. Or was it? I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe that does speak to something here. But I know Mark is going nuts in the chat. He's like, bro, please get to the news, please. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. But Eazy-E, look, we live in a day and I mean, I say we live in a day and age. I feel like it's always been like this, but we are at a time where now more than ever, it's about pick your side, take your stance, have your conviction. And I get that. But there is a part of me that often just feels like I can kind of see both sides. You know? Like I listen to both sides. I do, because I'm fucking subjected to it all the time without even wanting to be. I have to hear both sides. And you know what I've learned after listening to a lot of both sides? It's going to sound crazy. Turns out there are some things good about both sides and some things that are bad about both sides. And to me, as somebody who has been subjected to both constantly, that is abundantly clear. And I guess, I don't know, man. That's where I stand. In an age, MBG, do you not remember the Civil War? True, man. You're right. I guess it always has been this way. Just we're fighting in a different battlefield now. Shit. All right. Jake, I'm in agreement with you. You're saying you're hoping Wolverine is darker and more sinister in tone. That's what I'm hoping for too. Like, I really want that darker theme to kind of come through clearly. But Eazy-E, I do appreciate the super chats, bud. And we have Gavin saying the new South Park special nailed this. I'll have to watch it. I've been seeing like small clips of it here and there. Man, yeah, maybe they have it right. I don't know. I can't speak to it. I haven't seen it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it turns out they're somehow making the most sense out here. All right. Demetros Rodriguez says the Howard mission gave me Hey Arnold vibes. It broke me at the end. Spider-Man 2 is a good example of when side missions have weight to it and it isn't padding/filler. I'm in agreement, man. Again, I was not expecting that. Shout out to Hey Arnold too as well. I totally get what you're saying in that sense. I'm gonna have to let my cat out. I don't know if you guys hear her meowing back there. But that's what kind of shocked me about that mission is that side mission is something I'm not going to forget. It was short. Like it didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't doing anything crazy. You're just kind of, realistically, that mission was you just kind of traversing from one side of the map to the other. And yet it's a side mission that I'll always remember and think back on and be like, that's like when I think of like side missions and side content that was meaningful, that's one that will likely always stand out. And I appreciate that. You're saying in Alan Wake 2, all you do is walk? Hell yeah, let's go. Really? All right. I just have 2 more chats here, and then we will get into the news. I appreciate you guys bearing with me here. I know I go on and on and on. I apologize. Lucky Raygun, member for 4 months, says, this is why I stay away from the culture war stuff. It's just negativity and people going back and forth. Yes, some stuff is annoying, but still. I'm in agreement. I try to stay away from it as well. But like I said, sometimes it just creeps in and I end up watching certain things here and there. And again, like when I listen to stuff, people are making some good points, but then I guess it's just like the question I ask myself is, how did I feel prior to hearing about this? And then I realized I didn't fucking care at all. Like it just wasn't an issue in my life. That's what's weird to me about it, where it's like 1 minute I'm living my life, I'm totally fine. I'm not really bothered by, well, I mean, I'm always bothered by something, but you know what I mean? And then the next moment it's like, hey, wait a second. It's so funny in a way. Eazy-E with another super chat. He says, MBG, you are right about the balance, man. House of Dragon did this very well. We should meet in the middle for sure. Spot on, MBG. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know it's easier said than done for a lot of people, but balance is key, man. There's no denying that, I think. So Easy E, I very much appreciate the super chats. We are going to dive into this topic. I have to read this article to you. I've been trying to read this article all day and I still haven't. Give me just 1 second while I let my cat out. Okay, I am sorry about that, guys. Leia was just back there screaming at the door, asking me to let her out, so couldn't make her wait any longer. All right, so here's the article. Moving on to I guess that whole section was the first topic. Here's the second topic. PS5 is fully stocked for the first time and on track for record sales this year, top Sony executive says. The PlayStation 5 is fully stocked and in stores around the world and will hit Sony's sales target of 25 million units for the year, an executive at the company told CNBC exclusively. This holiday season is the first holiday season we will be fully stocked on PlayStation 5 in every geography, Eric Limpel, Sony's head of business operations, said in an interview earlier this week. That comes after a series of successive console shortages, because of which many players around the world were unable to get their hands on PS5 units. Poor supply volumes linked to the global chip shortage and supply chain disruptions greatly limited the availability of PS5 and Xbox and Microsoft's Xbox Series X and S. The PS5 and Xbox Series X were notoriously hard to find in stores after the November 2020 launch. Sony, for its part, has struggled to meet demand for the PS5, facing supply shortages each year following the PS5's release. But that's now over, according to Eric Limpel, and this will be the first year in which the PS5 is at full capacity at Sony, retailers, and other distribution partners around the world ahead of the holidays. We launched back in 2020, Limpel told CNBC. We suffered from the same supply chain issues that everybody was dealing with. Unfortunately, we weren't able to deliver a PS5 to every consumer that wanted one. Sony had set itself a target of 25 million PS5 units shipped throughout 2023. That would make it the best year for any PlayStation console in history. Eric Limpel said the company was on track to meet that target this year and expects, quote, record-breaking sales, end quote, thanks to the rebalancing of supply and demand for titles like the newly released Spider-Man 2. Sony reports their earnings on November 9th. Now, here's where things get more interesting, because we have been talking a little bit about this, right? We've kind of been seeing the headlines that Sony's going to basically kill it this holiday season. The next section of this article says, eyes on the competition. Sony's popular PS5 device has already sold millions and outstripped Microsoft's Xbox Series X in terms of demand. Microsoft is betting big on gaming becoming a more integral part of its business. That's why the Redmond, Washington-based firm paid so much money for Activision Blizzard. In a $69 billion deal that has finally been agreed, Activision will be sold to Microsoft, with blockbuster titles such as Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and Crash Bandicoot now being added to its Xbox gaming division. Rival firms, not least Sony, had worried that this could hamper competition if Microsoft were to make games like COD exclusive to its Xbox platform. Call of Duty is a multi-billion-dollar making gaming franchise. However, cloud gaming rights, which relate to the streaming video games via remote data centers, will be sold to French publisher Ubisoft. Ubisoft will own the cloud rights to Call of Duty and give people the ability to stream the game on Ubisoft Plus subscription platforms after a compromise with the UK regulators to satisfy them on the competition implications of the deal. Sony had raised alarm at the negative impact of the Microsoft Activision deal many times, at one point even warning that it may lead to hampered game quality on PlayStation consoles if Microsoft opts to undermine the programming in any way. For its part, Microsoft said it has no intention to do so, and that the Activision deal will be good for competition. Okay, so that section is just kind of basically a rehashing of what we already know. But here's the most important. I don't know why this is at the end of the article here, because in my opinion, this is easily the single most important thing we're learning. Addressing a CNBC question on whether Sony needs to do anything in response to Microsoft's move to catch up in the intellectual property land grab that's been going on in gaming, Eric Limpel said Sony is constantly on the hunt for new developer partners to build exclusive titles for PS5. But he added, attempts to build out Sony's growing catalog of first-party games further may not always mean acquisitions, stressing its interest in partnerships. We have a number of ways of looking at this, Eric Limpel said, adding that in terms of great content, that's where we're focused. We've done more mergers and acquisitions in the past decade than we've ever done. We're always looking to work with new partners, whether that's somebody as an external provider or working with a developer along the way and then acquiring them later on. Lempel cited Insomniac Games, which just developed Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and the Spider-Man franchise at PlayStation as a good example of this strategy. Insomniac was earlier a partner of Sony, making games for its platform, but it became more integrated with Sony before the Japanese titan later decided to buy the firm outright. And, man, I am dying to hear more from Eric Lempel because that was a very short quote, but man, I know a lot of people might be thinking, that's it? That's all he said? But this tells you what you need to know, guys. Right now, this is what Sony is going to do. They are going to stick to their guns. Okay? Sony is going to say, hey, we're not going to chase Microsoft. And yeah, I do agree. You're saying that's not very convincing. Yeah, but at the same time, like, keep in mind, investors are paying attention to this type of stuff too. And Sony is well aware that there is pressure right now. You're saying they're sticking with the games as a service games. So actually, that's a separate topic. I do have that in my title. Apparently, they're pivoting away from games as a service. We're going to get to that momentarily. That's a rumor. This is official. Everything I just read to you, that's from Eric Lempel from Sony. So I want to go over it one more time here. Let's unpack what he says. He says we have a number of ways at looking at this. Okay. He says in terms of great content, that's where we're focused. So right off the bat, Eric Lempel is making it clear. I mean, I think this is known to everybody at this point, but content is king. Sony and Microsoft, that's what they're after here. That's what everybody's after. Content on your platform. He says here, and to me, this is important because he does mention acquisitions before anything else. So that is important to understand. He says we've done more mergers and acquisitions in the past decade than we've ever done. We're always looking to work with new partners. So he's just pointing out something that I do think should not be overlooked, in that Sony, and Jim Ryan talked about this, they may not be buying publishers, right? And they may not be making like the big headlines like their competition is, but they have been buying at a pretty steady pace. I think people need to realize that studios like Naughty Dog and Santa Monica and Sucker Punch and Insomniac, and Guerrilla, they don't just become like that overnight. They don't. It takes time. Sony had to grow these studios over, in some cases, almost 2 decades. When you consider, like, I understand that people are going to look at an acquisition like Blue Point Games and Housemarque and Firesprite, and they're not going to say, yeah, that's as good as Activision Blizzard or better. I'm not saying anybody should say that, but what we do need to at least acknowledge is that, dude, these studios have the potential in the coming years, with each release as they get better and better, bigger and bigger, they have the potential to get up there where in the future, when we talk about, like, when we think about top PlayStation studios right now, the ones that come to mind are the ones I just mentioned. Oh, Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, Guerrilla, right? I'm telling you, in the future, people are going to be Blue Point Games, Housemarque. In some cases, people already feel that way about Housemarque, but I still think that they have some growing to do. They're going to Firesprite even. Maybe, who knows, man? Maybe even one day, Firewalk Games, Haven Studios. We'll have to see. It's going to take time, but this is where I'm saying it's just a different strategy entirely. And I just find it so telling. Because I've been talking to you guys recently on stream about, I think Sony's going to do it, man. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to pull the trigger and try to buy a publisher, and they still might. You see, I have Bandai Namco and Sega in the title. We will get to that. But I do think that it is very interesting that Sony didn't have to respond to this question. That's important to note here. Sony didn't have to respond and say anything, but they did. And what they chose to say is, we've made a bunch of acquisitions in the past decade. We're always looking to work with new partners, whether that's somebody as an external provider or working with a developer, working along with them along the way and then acquiring them later. I mean, it couldn't be made more clear right now, if you're taking this at face value, that Sony's going to stick by their guns, stick to the strategy that they've been implementing. And there's an angle to this that I want to bring up here. And it might, for me, it's kind of the angle of, this is kind of ballsy in a way, if you think about it, where, dude, everybody is saying right now, or not everybody, but a large group of people are saying right now, Sony, you gotta move, bro. You gotta pull the trigger. You gotta buy a publisher. You gotta do it. And Sony's just like, no, we don't. And that's a level of confidence that's either, oh my God, you have no fucking idea what you're doing. Like, you have no idea what you're up against. It's either that, or it's a level of confidence is that these motherfuckers know what they're doing. Like, there's no in between here. It's either like they are so confident that Microsoft is making either moves that they can't make or that would put them under. I don't know, man. A part of me almost begins to think, at what point do we entertain the conversation Sony's betting on Microsoft's failure? I mean, again, it's all speculative, but I just think that's pretty ballsy, dude. I do. Like, I think it's ballsy to just come out and be like, yeah, our competitor, they're making the headlines, they're buying publishers. Good for them. We're not doing that. We don't need to. You're saying that's a bad bet? I'm not convinced yet. It could be. If you ask an Xbox fanboy, they'll tell you, yeah, that's a bad bet. Guaranteed that's a bad bet. I'm not so sure. The one thing that I do think people need to realize, even me, but especially a lot of the nonsense you see in the comment section on Twitter, on forums, on Reddit, wherever, people need to stop talking about Sony as if they haven't been involved in the video game industry for nearly 30 years. That, to me, is what blows my mind, where people actually talk about Sony like they are like the new guys on the block that don't fucking know what they're doing. Like, they have no understanding of the business. And that, to me, could end up being Sony's ace in the hole, essentially, where I've said it myself. I said it on my last stream. I'm like, where is this confidence in Microsoft coming from? And I told you, they paid for it. Microsoft paid for it. Right now, you're hearing the fanboys get loud and rambunctious because they've been holding it in. They've been waiting. They've been waiting practically a fucking decade. I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. They had to be subjected to watching their platform and their console fail for nearly a decade, and subjected to people telling them, like, you guys are over, bro. You lost. It's over. And they didn't want to believe it. And I get it. So they are, of course, going to be the first ones out the fucking gate, running full speed. I mean, hit the ground running. They're like the fucking Marines, right? They're the Marines of gaming right now, where they're fucking out there. And a lot of people, they get swept up in that, man. They do. It's easy to get swept up in the fucking zeitgeist. It's easy to get swept up in the, oh my God, they're buying publishers. They're all in on gaming. Like, guys, please take a step back. I don't think people quite understand what that means, right? Like, Microsoft's all in on gaming. This is different. You're damn right it's different. The stakes are way fucking higher than they've ever have been. People think that all in on gaming means nothing can stop us now. No, all in on gaming means high fucking risk, high reward. That's what that means. And so I'm just pointing out the fact that what Microsoft did, they did from a losing position. Microsoft said, we have to go all in on gaming and we have to buy publishers because if we don't, we're fucking toast. Now, granted, they want to compete in a way that is unorthodox and try to set a new precedent. That definitely changes things up a little bit. It's almost like they want to change the way the game is played, and that's fine. I mean, if they're able to do it, do it. Sony would do it too. But I just think that people need to realize that it would be fucking crazy for Sony to make a reactionary purchase. And I think people need to wake up and realize that. It doesn't mean they won't. Who knows? Next fucking week, we could be talking about how Sony just is going to acquire Ubisoft or some shit. You know, it could happen. But I think people need to take a step back and realize it would be fucking dumb for Sony to make a reactionary purchase because people need to stop looking at what Microsoft's doing and assuming it's going to all work out. I'm not saying people need to be doing gloom and people need to hate because I don't know if people have noticed, if you even question, people were talking about this with Starfield, where they're like, you can't say anything negative about Starfield. You can't. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that shit's dumb. There are negative things that need to be said about Starfield. And yes, there's some negative things that have to be said about Spider-Man 2. This whole idea of we have to create a wall and a barrier where it's like, you can't say anything, that's just stupid. That just creates a singular tunnel vision-like conversation that makes you totally unaware of all the other possibilities and all the other things that could happen. If you're saying dude, if I were to right now tell you the facts are Sony's still ahead of Microsoft. The facts are Sony's going to have a much better holiday season than Microsoft. Seemingly. They're going to set a new fucking record. But that's why I'm saying, like, you have to look beyond that, just like a lot of people are right now, where it's like, well, sure, Sony might be doing great this holiday season, but what does that mean about 2024 in the future? I don't know. Let's talk about it. We have to talk about it. You know, I'm not trying to have this tunnel vision, but listen, I have talked to you guys. I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say here is I'm actually happy to hear this. I hope this isn't PR bullshit. I really hope this isn't PR bullshit from Sony. It might be. But I want to reiterate that Sony didn't have to say this. Granted, it sounds a lot similar to what Jim Ryan said. Maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe Eric Lempel is just kind of reiterating what Jim Ryan already said, and they're waiting until they get a new guy in to set a new, vision or whatever. But I think this is very relevant because I've been saying, like, I don't think Sony should. I've been saying I think they're getting ready to possibly buy a publisher and they might really feel like they have to. But I've also said I really don't want them to at the end of the day if they don't have to, because that doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do a fucking thing for me, man. Maybe it does something in the sense of, yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about and it'll be a hell of a time, and PlayStation Studios will grow and, we'll sound just like the Xbox guys will right now. But that's not exciting to me. I'm seeing like Xbox fans talk about the next Microsoft release this year, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Like, dude, you didn't fucking care about Call of Duty a month ago. What are you talking about? And that shit's dumb. Like, that shit is dumb to me. So to hear Sony come out and say, we're just going to, you see what we did with Insomniac? We're going to keep doing that. Music to my fucking ears right there. Music to my fucking ears. Because that is what Sony does best. I said it over and over again. Sony needs to do what they do best. You guys remember me saying, don't chase Microsoft. Don't. Again, they might. They still might. This could just be a boilerplate PR statement that they're making right now. But I'll be honest with you right now, man. I don't give a flying fuck if Microsoft, leapfrog Sony. I've said it before. It's worth reiterating here again. If they leapfrog Sony and they become way bigger than Sony, they make more money than Sony, they have more studios than Sony, I don't care. That is quantity over quality mentality. I don't fucking care. People can bitch as much as they want, man, about the state of PlayStation, but I will stand my fucking ground and say, I've enjoyed the hell out of the PS5 generation so far. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. I was there day one. I was enjoying games day one on my PS5, and I've been enjoying them ever since. And yeah, 2023 is a little sparse, of course, but it's still been a hell of a year for games. And sorry if I have a little bit of confidence that Sony's not just going to turn to me and say, yeah, well, we started off strong in the first half, but the second half, we're not going to have shit. Sorry if I'm not assuming that's going to be the case. You're saying it's not about games anymore at this point. I mean, yeah. You think you're fucking right, man. I mean, I guess it is technically, but it's sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Xbox stands were parading Redfall. Starfield, dude. Oh, dude. I don't know if my buddy's listening to this right now. Okay, hold on. I'm about to pivot myself here. So I have a friend who plays on Xbox and he plays on PlayStation. Okay, he plays both, and he's actually for the past 2 years, he's been exclusively playing on Xbox. He just recently got his PlayStation for Spider-Man. And he is a massive Forza guy. Like, he's in the racing games in general. Like, he's in the cars in real life. Massively in the Forza. Now, I'll be honest, I forgot Forza came out. I did. Like, I honestly totally forgot. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he was like, "Did you hear about the new Forza?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "It fucking sucks." And I thought he was like messing with me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I bet it does." And he's like, "No, really, it sucks ass, dude." And I'm like, "Forza?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "This is the worst Forza they've ever released." Keep in mind, this guy loves these games. And he actually made me turn on a video. He's like, "Look it up right now." He says, "Look up Forza Rant." And I was like, okay. And it was this video with over 500,000 views, I guess, from this Forza YouTuber, where he had like a 12-minute video basically pointing out how like this game is just, it's horrible. Like, it's like 10 steps backwards. And and he was like looking at me, he's like, "I told you, dude." And I'm like, this is crazy. And I turned around, I was like, dude, I haven't seen anybody talking about this. Like, and I told you, it's like, tell me, I stream all the time, man. Like, I follow this shit. I didn't see anybody talking about this. And then I was scrolling through after I searched Forza Rant, I'm seeing all these videos of people who seemingly Forza fans just like totally disenchanted with the game. And I was just, dude, I'm just pointing this out because I was genuinely shocked. Like, I had no idea. Then again, I totally forgot the game even came out. But I was like, why? Like, I haven't heard anything about this. And I'm hearing it. I learned about it from a friend of mine who's a Forza fan. That's insane. That is insane. And so I don't know, man. I played the Forza Horizon games. I thought, I think they're great. Never really played the motorsport games. But after watching that video yesterday, I was just like, this is wild. Like, they had like 6 or 7 years to make this game too, which is even weirder. And I felt bad for him because you could tell like he really wanted to like the game. But I guess I'm just bringing this up because it's like that was Microsoft's game. Like that was Microsoft's game. Microsoft Game Studios. That wasn't Bethesda. I don't know. Weird shit going on. Weird shit going on. You're saying it's rated 1.5 stars on Xbox? Are you serious? Saying it's an 85 on Metacritic. Yeah, that I don't know. I guess that's what I don't know. Maybe Forza is one of those games where to the general reviewer it can seem pretty good, but to like the actual fan base, it's like, no, they changed this, they changed that. This is a step back. I don't know. I'm out of the loop on it, but weird stuff, man. Weird stuff going on. I was just so surprised to hear that. Saying the Steam reviews 40%. Well, I don't know. Why focus on that though when Sony's dying? Right? All right, Mario B. Mario B, you're saying Sony can't outbid Microsoft, and I'm glad that they're not trying to. Stick with what works, quality over quantity. I'm right there. I'm right there with you, dude. Like I sincerely don't want to see Sony chase Microsoft. And look, if in the eyes of Xbox fanboys, that's like, see, PlayStation fans admit defeat. Microsoft's gonna, yeah, sure, man, sure. You go do your thing and go play Game Pass and enjoy everything Microsoft's giving you. Like, I just don't want to see that happen because, again, it would be hard not to get caught up in it if Sony comes out and says, we bought Capcom or we're buying Square Enix or something. Like, yeah, I'm going to get caught up. I'm going to get swept up by that. I don't think anybody would blame me or anybody else. But at the end of the day, it's like if I had a choice, the choice for me would be clear. Like, I'd love to see you continue to buy like Diamond in the Rough Studios, like Housemarque, and even back in the day, Sucker Punch may have been considered a diamond in the rough. Studios you can really grow. You can realize their full potential. Devilshear's like, no, they will blame you. I know they will. And they can shove it up their ass. I don't give a shit. I mean, like we said, Devil, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But it's all good, man, at the end of the day. All right. Where am I at here? Sorry, I'm all over the place tonight, as you can tell. Mario B, I agree with you, man. Thank you for the super chat. We have Pony Up, member for 1 month. He says Factions 2 should be reworked into a SOCOM game with refined over-the-shoulder shooting and prone mechanics. Naughty Dog giving it a zombie mode would be easy. I actually don't disagree with you there. I just don't know that that's something that could be easily done or who would even do that. I think Naughty Dog, they use their own engine. Imagine that though. Naughty Dog making a SOCOM game. How the hell would people feel about that? Saying Sony is avoiding all the risk. I mean, in a way, yeah, but think about this. And that, again, this is why I brought it up earlier. If you're Sony, why would you take a risk right now? Think about it. If you were Sony and you took the risk of buying a publisher, you would do so because Microsoft, your competitor who is in third place, who proved that they don't really know how to win in this space, did so. You would be following the loser. That's what Sony would be doing. And I know some people don't want to hear that because they think that like that just makes them, what do you mean they're not losing? Like, no, literally, you would be following the company that you nearly put out of business yourself. I'm not saying Sony should wait until they're about to be put out of business. I'm not saying that either. But we're nowhere even remotely close. That's why I said what I said yesterday. And people don't want to hear it. At least certain Xbox fans don't want to hear it. That's why I said what I said, where it's like, dude, you can have your concerns about Sony. To sit here and say that they're done or their back's against the wall or they're on the ropes, you don't know what you're talking about. You're objectively wrong on multiple fronts. Now, could that change a year from now? Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot could change a year from now. Absolutely. But right now, no. You're saying Sony seems to take risks at the end of a generation. I think, yeah, to a degree, yeah. That's kind of, I think that's when we see any of the risks they took start to potentially bear fruit. I mean, when you think about all the new IP we got last generation, it came towards the second half of the generation, you know? Let the studios cook. Irfin in the chat says, dude, they're about to break a historic record. What are you talking about, man? We can't acknowledge that. That has no place in these nonsensical conversations that we have to have on the internet, don't you know? Sure, Sony's about to break their own sales record, but no, they should be scared. They should be. Microsoft's on their ass, bro. They're about to overtake. I mean, they haven't done anything yet. They haven't proven anything yet, other than that they can buy things. But they should be scared. What are you talking about, bro? They got Spyro and Crash. The end is near. Well, fuck. I think you might be right. I think you might be right on that one. Damn. All right, let's see here. We got Saint Nil, member for 1 month. He says, the reality of it is Xbox as a hardware ecosystem is over as they pivot more and more into a Game Pass / cloud-based ecosystem. It still has issues. That I agree with, yes. And I feel like this is another reason why Sony is choosing not to take unnecessary risks, because Sony still believes in the hardware side. However, Sony has also been taking steps to prepare to go beyond the hardware side. I think it's safe to say at this point, guys, that, and I don't think Sony will ever stop making PlayStation consoles, but it's going to take another company. So let me put it to you this way. Right now, Microsoft is telling Sony, we're placing a big bet. You know we're placing a big bet because look at how much money we're investing. And they're telling Sony, you are not placing that bet yet, but you will, because we are so sure that what we are doing is the future. What Microsoft is doing 5, 8, 10 years from now, maybe even might even take longer, but that will be where this leads, and Microsoft will be number one. That's what they're telling Sony. And Sony has to decide what they're going to do with their competition conveying that message to them. Sony has to decide, do we believe them and say, well, we better start chasing them now to ensure that they're not going to be number one? Do we wait? Do we wait and see? Do we wait and watch? Okay, Microsoft, this is what you tell us. Let's see. Prove it. Prove it. Now, that is in a way taking a risk to an extent, although it's ultimately less risky. The reason being is Sony sits back and they watch Microsoft is the one that has to go take the action. And in doing so, it is truly sink or swim, where they're either going to be right, and it's like, oh, well, Microsoft was right, and now they're number one. And this is the future. And we now have to catch up with them. We have to play catch up now. It's either that or Sony, again, they sit back, they watch Microsoft fails, the whole thing implodes over the next 5 to 10 years, and Sony's still number one. Or it's basically a constant back and forth between Sony and Microsoft, or Sony and Nintendo, of who's selling more consoles, and who's kind of at the top of the charts. And Microsoft failed to uproot the hardware ecosystem. I don't know. I really don't know, man. No one knows. Microsoft is very confident, but so is Sony. But I think, personally, it would be a mistake for Sony to assume that Microsoft is they're definitely making the right choice, where it's like, what do you, like, again, where's the confidence coming from? Because even if in the distant future, it is less about hardware, consoles maybe don't matter, it's all about the cloud and stuff, and ecosystems that span across everything, that still doesn't mean that Microsoft's going to be the one to figure that out first. It's a pretty common thing in technology and tech companies, where it's like a lot of tech companies end up doing something, it's just too soon. It is truly ahead of its time, and people are not ready, and it ends up like sinking them, and in some cases killing them, or nearly killing them. And then like their competitor 10 years later does the exact same thing, but it works because it turns out that, yeah, now people are ready for it. It's a very common thing. And I think that's why Sony is choosing to just kind of sit back and say, we'll wait and watch, because you're the first one up, because you have to be. Go lead the way. Go blaze that trail, Interesting stuff. By the way, guys, we have over 530 people here hanging out. Thank you so much. Please take a second every time. Smash the like button. That's right. I said smash the like button. It really does help out the streams if you enjoy the content. If you want to help kind of get it out there in front of more people, hit that like button. I think we could easily crush 300 likes, guys. We could easily crush 300 likes. All right. We have Domingo813. He says, this is MBG After Dark, LOL. Yeah, and the irony is that it's like brighter than normal because I have my lights on. So, MBG After Dark. Dark Horse with a chat says, MBG, I hear you, but did you realize Sony has lost 30% of their net worth with the Activision Blizzard deal, but they're still selling consoles? Something is off. Well, we do have to understand that we have to consider the shareholders and the investors. They're people too, just like us, and they're on the outside watching. There's no denying Microsoft is getting Sony shareholders, nervous. Understandably, I would be too, where it's like, I've been talking about it this way as well, where it's like, Sony, what's the plan here? And this gives me some reassurance because, look, I'm sorry, man. Maybe I am wrong at the end of the day, and maybe I will be proven wrong. But even if Microsoft's way is the future, I don't care. Like, that is not something that appeals to me. It's not. If Microsoft's way really is the future, then what Microsoft represents is truly everything that I've always never wanted. Where it's like, you don't own games anymore. You don't buy games physically anymore. It's already something that annoys the hell out of me now, where it's like, subscribe, and everything's a fucking subscription. Like even if that is the future, like that sucks. And I don't look. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that's a future that I've always been advocating for because it actually never has been. But maybe it really is. So that's why I'm saying, like, I would rather see Sony take this position. But I think Sony's afraid to shrink, man. I think their shareholders are afraid of them shrinking. And I think when we hear the term like left behind, I think that's kind of what they mean. But I don't know. I will say this. Microsoft is making big moves to try to expand the brand, and I think they have with Activision. But there is also still something to be said for PlayStation's brand power. I think if there's anything right now that is kind of showing that Microsoft, believe it or not, does have a lot of pressure on them. And I know that like the Xbox fanboys don't want to hear that because they're like, there's no pressure on Xbox. What are you talking about? Domingo 813 says, I also hate shrinkage. Thank you, Domingo, for letting me know that you too hate shrinkage. But I just think that it's like Microsoft, they're all right. I'll just say this. Microsoft's next fiscal year will be so important to pay attention to because, and I get it, a lot of people are like, I don't care. I just play games. I'm not saying you have to care. I'm just speaking for me and for people who are kind of interested in seeing where the future of gaming goes with these platforms. This next year, you better believe Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, Amy Hood, the CFO, all the people who told Phil, like, yeah, go ahead, go buy these guys. Go buy. $68 billion, no problem. Okay, the hard part's, or not the hard part, the easy part's over. Now comes the hard part. You got it over the line. You got past the regulators. It was a pain in the ass. Sure, it's the annoying part is over. Now the hard part begins, like the actual difficult part, which is, dude, they have to experience massive fucking growth. Massive, massive, massive growth. They told their shareholders that they expect to basically grow by 50% in the next fiscal year. That's fucking crazy. And they might. I'm not saying they won't. I'm not even betting against it. I'm just saying, like, this is what they paid for, man. They paid for growth. And if that growth isn't fucking there in big ways, we're going to have some conversations. Modern Warfare 3 isn't going to sell as well as the last two games. As much as I want to agree, I'm not going to take that bet. I'm definitely not taking that bet, dude. If there's one thing I've learned over the years is never underestimate Call of Duty. It makes no sense to me. Like, I'm not sure why people are going to buy it again this year, but they will. They definitely will. And it will still be the best-selling game of the year. It makes no sense to me, but that's just how it is, man. I wish I understood it better, but Sony Cryversations. Oh my god. Where do you guys come up with some of this shit? That's pretty good though, Cryversations. Oh my god, I should lean into that. Sony Cryversation number 136. That's pretty good. We need a showcase with new single player games, MBG. We do. We absolutely do. I anticipate that. Saying just troll. Oh, I know. No, I know, man. It's all good. That's a good one, though. It is a good one. All right, so we now have to segue into the next topic. So everything we just went over is officially from Sony. Okay. The next topic is take it with a massive grain of salt. All right. Because it is a rumor that I have no idea if there's anything behind it. But the reason why I decided to cover this rumor is because this person talks about Sony partnering with some big publishers. And originally I was like, okay, maybe there's truth to that, but I don't know. Who knows? However, the same day that this rumor came out, that's when Sony did their interview and they said, yeah, we're focused on partnerships. So then it kind of was like, interesting timing there. So, so here we go. There's this individual on Reset Era that apparently, again, I can't back this up, apparently has some kind of credibility, and they go by the name Head on the Block. And they say that they're a verified user, I believe, and I think they've been vetted. Again, who knows? But they said, I think Sega and Bandai are working on Sony IP. And then somebody replies and says, go on. And they say, almost every studio you listed here is or was working on an online game. Some were forced to, really. Scuttlebutt is Sony is reversing their course and using third party to catch up on some IPs. I heard Sega has a hand in an old IP that will wipe the floor. But again, with things turning around as rumored, it's going to be at least 4 years until some of these changes are seen. So again, this very much could be somebody just kind of speculating, but they speak in such a way. Now, this rumor caused a lot of controversy, I guess, on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit specifically, because a big argument that people were making, and it's a good argument, is they were like, this makes no sense because how could Sony buy Bungie, invest in live service for, and then just and buy studios for live service and just say, nah, never mind. See, I have a theory here. Jason Jenkins with a $2 super chat says, you spend more time hating on Xbox than loving PlayStation. Oh no. Uh-oh. Is MBG an Xbox hater? Well, clearly. I mean, fuck, man. Like, obviously. I mean, should I sit here and try to tell you I like Xbox and I like what they're doing and I like, no. Listen, you can't blame me. You can't. And you know why? I'll tell you why. You can't blame me because I'm not the one out here telling you Sony is going to fucking murder Microsoft. They're kicking Microsoft's ass. I'm not saying that shit. I'm not. And I haven't been for quite some time. Saying Xbox hurt you. No, Xbox didn't hurt. Like the brand itself didn't hurt me. No, it's the Xbots are hurting me now. They're trying to, and that's what I'm trying to say, man. Is, dude, they just can't stop. I could just sit here and talk about, dude. I could have named this stream, let's talk about Spider-Man 2, and I could have talked about Spider-Man 2 the entire stream. You think there aren't going to be Xbox fans coming in letting me know about all the things wrong with Spider-Man or how much better Microsoft is or just Microsoft's this or that? Like, of course they are. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you can say that, yeah, I spend more time hating on Xbox, but it's like, look, man, they're the people, they're the ones that come here or show up on my feed or always have something to say. And it's like, well, yeah, I'll give you my thoughts on it. That's all it is, man. Like, I'm just giving my thoughts on what's happening right now between Sony and Microsoft. And I get it because I don't like Microsoft and I don't like Xbox. and I like PlayStation, I understand that it's like, well, you're just a hater. Again, I just need to reiterate, do you think anybody pointed out the fact that, hey, you know this big Xbox hater, the guy who just fucking despises Xbox and does nothing but shit on them? Did you know that he was like he was out here, he wasn't shitting on Starfield. He was actually saying it looks like it's going to be a good game and Xbox is going to have a big win and they're going to do really well. Do you think anybody talked about? No, they didn't talk about that. They'll never talk about that. And they don't give a shit if I talk about it. Because you know what? Even if I did say that, they'll say, I don't believe you. But I mean, funny thing is, I don't give a shit if they believe me or not. I'm going to say what I have to say. And what I said then is what I meant. And I was correct, by the way. Starfield did exactly what it was supposed to do for Xbox. It did well for them. It seemed obvious to me. I mean, I did also say that Starfield doesn't look good to me, but I didn't shit on it. So, you know, man, you're right. You're right. I could just not acknowledge any of it, but I'm sure that day will come. Because the day, I can assure you of one thing, and it's this. Because I see what somebody else said in the chat. They're like, just let them have their moment. It's temporary. Well, it's not about letting people have their moment. It's just, look, man, nothing is set in stone right now. Either way. Everybody's hedging their bets, and it's obvious where I'm hedging mine. I'm convinced that Sony is going to do just fine. They're going to continue to do what I like, what I expect. And, you know, maybe there'll be some roadblocks or, you know, some bumps along the way, which is fine. And I'll be honest, like, I'm hedging my bets that I don't think Microsoft is going to, I don't think this is going to work out for them the way that it's supposed to. I'm prepared to be wrong, of course, and that's fine if I am. And, you know, people will remind me and let me know if I am, but I just don't, to be frank, I don't believe in Xbox's leadership, dude. That's all it comes down to. And maybe that makes me a hater. Clip that. Yeah, clip that shit. Somebody's clipping that. Somebody who like just doesn't get paid to clip me clips me. but whatever, man. Whatever helps. Whatever floats their boat, I guess. But I do think that the difference fundamentally between Sony and Microsoft and Xbox's leadership is, I think Sony's leadership, not all of them, but more of them understand gaming and like how to, not gaming, they understand how to make good games, like fundamentally, like how to manage talent, how to manage studios that are making big AAA games. And I don't think Microsoft's leadership has that. And if they did, it's starting to slowly go away. Or not if they did, but you know, they acquire Bethesda, they acquire Activision, and it's the stuff starting to go away, man. Like, I mean, Pete Hines left and Matt Booty's now taken over, where it's like, the fuck? Like Matt Booty, like what the fuck has Matt Booty produced that's so great that you would entrust him? Again, Bobby Kodak's going to be gone, and I guess Sarah Bond's taken over, or they're going to get somebody else. And it's like, I understand Jim Ryan's leaving. And apparently Connie Booth left. I get that, but Angie Smets is taking Connie Booth's role. And she's proven she knows what she's doing. She's coming off of Horizon Forbidden West. You know, again, like from one of Sony's most talented studios, she's coming from a development role. You know, and people apparently love her because she's good at what she does. She's taking over for Connie Booth. I'm not saying it's a guaranteed win. We do have to wait and see. But I have I have more confidence in the person that was responsible for Horizon Forbidden West than I do Matt Booty. What did Matt Booty do, man? I'm being serious. Like, what did he do? Does anybody know? You're saying, bro, Guerrilla is the lowest big studio. Horizon mid, and that's being honest? I mean, look, I guess that's your opinion of it. I disagree. You're saying he comes from Minecraft. Okay. All right. Oh, you know what? See, that's weird to me. I almost feel like if that's true, maybe he would be better off managing Activision. Because Call of Duty, like, I'm not saying they're similar games. I'm just saying the fact that they're like these big live games. Whatever, man. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. We'll find out. You're saying calling Horizon mid is delusion if I've ever seen it. I mean, look, man, I understand that maybe Horizon isn't everybody's cup of tea. I wouldn't call it mid. Yeah, definitely not. It's not even my favorite PlayStation game, but it's not mid. Horizon Forbidden West was fucking stellar, dude. Frankly. Hey, you know, it could use some improvements here and there. Of course, all games can. But I guess I'm just... Look, at the end of the day, man, it's just... Sure, maybe it is hating on Xbox, but it's just because it's like, look, man, it is weird to see people, again, kind of completely disregarding all of the good things that Sony has done this generation, seemingly ignoring all of the fuck-ups that Microsoft has made this generation, and basically act as if all is well because they bought two publishers. I mean, they were already dude, they were already wrong. And I get it. It's like, oh, look at the, like, they'll turn, I will make this statement. They were wrong when they said that Starfield is going to be a game of the generation. They were wrong. Again, who would have thought? But they will, it's all about the, oh, but yeah, you're just a crying Sony fanboy who hates Starfield. Okay. But you were still wrong. You know, like, and that right there, that's all I'm trying to point out to people is the same people saying Starfield game of the generation are the same people coming out saying Microsoft is going to take over. Yeah, sorry, I'm not hedging my bets with those people. They don't know what they're fucking talking about. They're out here busy making fucking drawings or fucking making online art of Crash Bandicoot wearing an Xbox sweater because that's where their priorities lie. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay? But that's cool, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, we got, let me see here. But Jason, I do appreciate the super chat, man. Welcome home to Papa Spencer. Dude, you wrote that in quotes. Who said that shit, bro? Who said that shit? Holy hell. That is cringe. Oh my God. Please help that person, whoever said that. They really need some help, man. Oh, geez. All right. Do you know you don't have the same credentials, YouTuber? I know. Look, I'm not... Hey, keep in mind, I know. I'm just an armchair analyst. I get it. Armchair CEO. Look, this is why I'm always... If you listen to what I say, I always do say, and I could be completely wrong. I'm not claiming to know all the answers or be an expert. I just go based off of what I see. And all I'm saying is that in evaluating Sony and Microsoft and game management, studio management, game output for the past like 8 years or so, there isn't even... It's a night and day difference. And I'm talking from their first party studios, by the way. I know, like, people always just, well, games like Death Stranding and Final Fantasy. I'm not talking about those games. I'm talking just first party. It's been a night and day difference. And again, like, no offense to the person who said that Horizon was mid. Again, that's your opinion, but it's not mid, bro. And I know, like, again, to me, it just, that is the type of energy I'm talking about, where you can say that now, and you'll find people like, yeah, bro, it is fucking mid. It is. Shit's mid. And it's like, if Horizon Forbidden West is what's considered mid, then I guess you guys are going to get what you deserve. Like, straight up, man. Like, if that's really what you consider mid, then you're going to get what you deserve, because that's wild if you think that's mid. That's wild. And I'm not even saying that as like a fanboy. It's just like, objectively speaking, Xbox fanboys would be fucking, I mean, you'd see the world's biggest circle jerk if they got a game like Horizon announced for their platform that looked and played like that. It'd be crazy. So, and again, I say that I'm not even the biggest fan of Horizon, man. There are other PlayStation games I like a lot more. JE Fits 141, he says here, first time super chatting MBG. Well, I very much appreciate that. Super chatting MBG, I think, and I'm not sure if it is. You may have super chatted in the past, because the symbol didn't pop up that it was your first time, but either way, I do appreciate it. You're saying, hope you are well. Love the content, been following since 2020, and that you keep it real and can admit when you're wrong, even when I don't think you are. Hope you and the family are well, my man. Love the humbleness, the fact that no ego, and that you've inspired others to pursue their YouTube dream. Keep up the great content, my man. Much love, Ireland. Well, thank you so much for that, JE Fits 141. That's 2 super chats back to back there, just to basically speak some kind words. And I have to thank you, man. And I have to thank this audience, truthfully. You guys make the stream. You guys make the channel. As I always say, if it wasn't for you, what would be the point? You know, what would be the point? And I really do appreciate those kind words, though, man. It does go a long way. I have a great appreciation for people who realize that I'm just here. We're just talking. I'm just being me. I'm not trying to prove anything. You know, we're just having a good time talking games. So good stuff, man. That's very kind of you to donate those super chats to say things. And me and the family, we're doing well. We're doing good, man. And I hope you and yours are doing well too. We also have, let me see, either Rain or Ran 718 saying, dude, I'm just laughing because that sentence, bro, holy shit, I was not prepared for that sentence. It's so funny. Matt Booty is more dangerous than you think. I'm sorry, bro. That is just a hell of a sentence. Matt Booty is more dangerous than you think. All right. I mean, fuck, man. He's like some kind. Yeah, he's a menace. Matt Booty is a dude. Oh, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. I'm really not. And I'm sure he's, you know, he gets shit for it all the time. But could you just imagine having the last name Booty? I gotta say, man, I gotta give this man some respect for not changing his last name. That's a crazy last name to have. And I know maybe it's a little immature, but I mean, I can't imagine growing up with that last name. That's tough, dude. That's tough. But sorry, let me read the super chat. You're saying Matt Booty is more dangerous than you think. He is the guy that wants to spend Sony out of business. That's true. Yeah, I think Matt Booty, man, don't underestimate him. Don't go based off his name. He is ruthless. He is a menace. He is ruthless, man. You're right. He is the one who said in the email, we'll spend Sony out of business. God damn. I mean, he's more savage than Phil. I think Phil even looked at him and be like, I mean, damn, dude. Like, yeah, we want to win, but you just want to straight up murder these guys. Oh, he's a pain in the ass. I see what you did there. Yeah, you're right. We should not underestimate him. I don't know. I'm not sold on his ability to manage studios. But in terms of being a cutthroat businessman and running shit, I mean, not running shit, but just kind of like climbing that ladder and having that attitude in a way, I think that is a common attitude to have. Like there are definitely Sony executives that feel that exact same way about Microsoft. But yeah, good call out, man. I totally forgot he was the one who said that in the email. Also, come on, man. Come on. Just going back to that super chat where somebody said you're spending more time hating on Xbox. Look, man, we didn't get emails of Sony saying they want to spend Microsoft or Xbox out of business. How can I not pay attention to that company? They're trying to kill Sony, man. Which, you know, I don't mind. Do some damage. Let Sony get a little uncomfortable. Let Sony I don't mind if Sony feels the flame a little bit under their ass. I don't. I think that'll be a good thing. I want to see Sony be smart with their decisions and logical. But I also want them to be aggressive in the sense that they're not they're not making decisions in a position of we don't have to worry about anything. Like we're fine. I mean, I know it's a little bit arrogant what I said earlier where it's like we're not going to follow the company that was in third place. I don't think that's arrogant. I think that's logical. I think it's you don't follow the loser. You don't. Like you're leading, lead, you know, and if that lead starts to get lost, well, then maybe you start looking around and start taking notes. But I do want to see, and that's why I'm not opposed to Sony getting, you know, squeezed a little bit because I want to see them become a little bit more aggressive. Like we just talked about the interview, right? Where we're gonna have a record-breaking holiday season. And it's like, I'm happy for Sony. I mean, I am. I'm happy for the console because I want to see the console do well, and it's thriving. But I'll tell you what, man. I did say this earlier. I'll just say it here one more time. Have I tried the finals beta? No. Is that on PS5? I heard about that. Maybe I'll try it. If it's on PS5, I'll give it a try. You know, I said that Sony's not. I could be wrong. I always got to say that, but I'm pretty sure Sony's not going to announce anything of super significant. Maybe the Game Awards. Maybe the Game Awards gets a ton of viewership. I'm sure Sony's going to have something, but it wouldn't shock me if like all we see at the Game Awards is Death Stranding 2. Maybe like Rise of the Ronin or something as well, which would be great. I'd be very happy about that. But I'm talking like, you know, I don't think Sony is feeling like we got to go out there and we got to show the shit and we got to have a killer showcase. Why? They're not going to. Dude, Sony right now, you know what they're doing? Sony is looking that they're going to have a record-breaking holiday season. They're going to have a killer first quarter thanks to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know what they're doing? They're loading up now because they know, dude, we got to contend with a Microsoft showcase next June where they're going to have Bethesda and Activision. So yes, Sony's going to have to save their cards and play them in that moment because they're going to need them. I do believe that. So anybody see that? By the way, speaking of Final Fantasy, did anybody see that clip? I think it's the voice actors of Sid and Clive. They put out a clip on Twitter. Funny shit, dude. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. Mario B says, don't underestimate the booty power. Never underestimate it, man. I don't. I appreciate that, Mario. We got Perfect Image, a member for 6 months. He says, hey, MBG, I'm glad to be here and talk about Sony and Xbox and allow to voice your opinion about games we love most. Glad to be here and continue your success 2024. Well, thank you, man. I'm happy you're here too, Perfect Image. I appreciate the support. You've contributed to the channel quite a bit over the months and potentially years. I mean, it's hard for me to keep track, but I really appreciate it, man. Good stuff. I love talking games. I mean, we talk games, but I love talking the gaming industry as well. I have to say that because I get it. Like some people are like, oh, it feels like you don't talk about games enough. I do. Like I would be talking a lot more about Spider-Man if I just wasn't constantly afraid of spoiling stuff for people and upsetting people. Because I mean, I've seen people showing that they've platinum Spider-Man after like 3 days, and I'm like, holy shit. I still have like half the trophies to go or something like that. I'm almost which is weird because I'm like almost 100% on the game, but I still have like 15 or 18 trophies. I thought I'd be closer to the platinum by now, which is weird. They have an eyelash coming out. But yeah, it really depends on what games. I'm going to start talking about Alan Wake 2 as soon as I start playing that. I'm really excited for Alan Wake 2, man. I did miss Jake. You're saying the finals is on PS5. Is it just like an open beta? You can just download and play. I don't even know what this game is, frankly. I feel like I've heard the name before, but is it good for anybody who's played? Is it actually good? It's like a multiplayer game, I'm assuming. Beef Jerky says you don't like it. It's a shooter. 3 versus 3. Interesting. I mean, the only multiplayer game I've been playing is Dead by Daylight, and I still enjoy Dead by Daylight, but man, I'm burned out on it. I just play it at this point as it's like routine, not really getting much out of it. So I'll look up some gameplay and see if it's something that interests me. Maybe I'll try it out. Dark Horse with the $2 super chat says, "Are you going to stream BlizzCon next week?" No, Dark Horse, I am not. I never cared about BlizzCon. Dude, the most I know about BlizzCon, honestly, is that guy from that 1 year where he's like, is this an out of season April Fool's joke? That was at BlizzCon, right? I mean, that was legendary. But no, oh, you're saying the finals is from old Battlefield developers. Now that's interesting. Chase Shaka was like, why the F would he stream BlizzCon? I mean, if I was into Blizzard games, maybe, but I never really see. This is what's so weird to me about Microsoft's acquisitions is when I think about it, it's not that I've never played games from these publishers. I have, but it's like either the games I played from them, like for example, Activision, Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, Call of Duty, they either don't make them anymore or I just don't like, and then, talking about Call of Duty, I just don't care anymore. And that's what's like, I feel like I kind of got lucky where it's like, well, could have been worse. If these, if some of these games are going to be taken away. And Bethesda's even weirder for me, man. Right now, I mean, maybe Doom, I don't know. Doom is a maybe. Not into their RPGs. Evil Within 3. I gotta know, the Evil Within 1 and 2 are incredible games. And I am jealous that Microsoft has this IP. Great games. If they make an Evil Within 3, it's a day one for me. But that's really about it. That's like about it, man. Ghostwire. Yeah, I did play Ghostwire. That was good. Yeah, if they make another Ghostwire, I'll probably play that. That game was better than I expected it to be, man. I don't know what it was. I enjoyed it. I don't think about it that often, but you just brought it up, and I have a flood of memories of playing that game last year, and I don't know what it was, man. Something about that game. I wish I could. I'd have to think about what it was, but there's something about that game. I don't know if it was just because it felt like I don't know, it was just so it was trying to I feel like I don't know, it was showing off like Japanese culture in a way. It was a very interesting game, man. The atmosphere, yeah. I mean, it didn't like people. I saw people like saying it didn't really have the strongest story or anything, but I liked it. I did. It was a fun game. It did become a little bit grindy because I did platinum it like to get all the collectibles. I mean, it was basically a collectathon at some point, but it was it was a unique game, and I appreciated it. Like I wasn't like a 10 out of 10, but yeah, maybe like a diamond in the rough for me. Yeah, that's true. Ghostwire 2 was on the list of the games that apparently they're making. Yeah, I'll be curious to see where they go with that. Again, I would greatly prefer the Evil Within 3, but I'll take what I can get. Kirby Shaw with a $10 super chat says, "Hope all is well, brother. Got a few questions for you. Do you plan on picking up the new PS5? Also, what TV are you currently gaming on? And if you had to pick your dream upgrade TV, what would it be?" So the TV I'm currently playing on is actually, I'm drawing a blank. I got a TV in the living room, and I basically go back and forth. I play in here, I play out there sometimes. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the TV in the living room. The TV in the living room is the one with all the bells and the whistles in terms of VRR 120. And the TV that I play in the room here it's an older model. It's not like super old. I think it's oh my God, the Sony H950H, I think. I'd have to double check that. But it's a really, really good TV. It does lack the bells and whistles, but oh my God, it look like it's not an OLED, but it's incredible. Like dude, honestly, it's like the best looking TV I've ever seen. And I do play a lot of my games on it, but I do often, the TV in the living room is also bigger. I play on that one a lot too, because more games are, they have these VRR and whatnot. You're saying my dream TV. You know what? I did recently hear it's a Sony TV. And I think it won a bunch of awards recently. It's an OLED. It's like the most cutting edge OLED they released. I don't have I wish I could tell you the name of it. It's like this Sony A95, I think. They're freaking naming of these. Yeah, I think that's the one, the A95L. Yeah. And I mean, there's no reason for me to buy something like that right now, but I was like hearing about it, and it's just next level, man, in terms of picture quality. It's like nearly perfect. And I'm like, shit, maybe whenever I do need an upgrade, maybe that's what I'll go for. But I'm telling you, what's so weird, OLED is incredible, but this TV that I use, the 950, it's an LED, dude. I'm telling you, man, it's something about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting older or something, and but there's something about this TV that the picture quality is stunning, even though it's not OLED. Like it pops more, man. It does. But the blacks are really, really dark. Like not perfect black, of course. Don't say anything silly, MVG. Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna take a step back there. Just gonna take a step back. Don't say it's better. Look, I'm not saying it's better than OLED. I'm not. I'm just saying that the way the picture is presented to me, I don't know. It just speaks. Yeah, that's my truth, man. It just, the picture quality speaks to me in a different way that I feel good about. But that, we'll see though. TVs, they just, it's so weird that new TVs are released every year, man, and you never really know when the next best thing. I mean, every year you assume they're going to get better, but JXQ, you're saying you have a gaming channel? That's awesome, dude. But hopefully that answers your question, Kirby Shaw. Right now, the dream TV that I would like to upgrade to eventually would be the Sony A95L, because it seems awesome. But because I'm not necessarily in need of a new TV right now, I probably will wait another. I mean, I'm at a point where it's like, I just want to use these TVs for as long as I can. I'm not usually the type of person, believe it or not, that just goes to upgrade for the sake of upgrading. I will usually wait until I have to. And so, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how long these TVs last that I have. All right, so I do want to revert back to something we were talking about, though, because I got very off track. This rumor that Sony is apparently pivoting away from games as a service, and they're apparently handing out their IP. This is incredibly interesting, guys, because if this rumor is to be believed, Sony is handing their IP to like Sega and Bandai Namco, and this person says that the intellectual property that they handed Sega, the way that they put it is it'll clean up. Like it's a big IP, like a really well-known IP, something that it'll clean up. What the hell could that be, man? I mean, I'm not too familiar with Sega. Like, what could Sega's development teams make? I don't know. It would be really interesting, though. You're saying maybe Sony listened to us? Well, so that's the other part of this conversation. Again, if the rumor's true, another part of this conversation is we have to consider that Sony did invest heavily into games as a service in a big way. They bought Bungie. They bought Firewalk. They bought Haven. I mean, they bought multiple studios just for live service. They also tasked many of their studios for the past 4 to 5 years to start working on some live service games. So I'll tell you right now, this whole idea of a pivot, I think people need to understand they can pivot away from live service without abandoning it and shutting it down. I think what it might be is an internal, like, think of it like this. Jim Ryan, during his time, made it clear that in his mind, the future of gaming is live service. Jim Ryan never said, and I want this to be noted, as far as I'm aware, Jim Ryan never said, oh yeah, we'll keep making, well, actually, you know what? He did. I take that back. It was one of the more recent things, but usually it was Herman Hulst that said it. Herman Hulst would be the one to come out and say, we're still going to make these single-player games. Jim, not so much. Jim was the one that was really focused on live service. He did say at one time, though, that they would still make their single-player. He kept calling them first-person games, but we know he meant single-player. And, I'm thinking to myself, this just didn't sit well with anybody. Like, it's because it felt off balance. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I think that there are a lot of PlayStation players who would be open, very much open to seeing Sony pursue multiplayer once again, try to do some more in multiplayer, kind of go back to trying some first-person shooters, some third-person shooters. I mean, they were doing games like Warhawk and whatnot for the PS3. I don't think anybody would be opposed to that. But what people didn't ask for ever was, yes, Sony, like, make 12 live service games and task a lot of your studios with making them. I don't think anybody wanted something like that to happen. And so this idea of a pivot away, I think all that really is happening is they're just not placing all of their bets on live service, which would be an amazing, like, I hope this is true, because let's face it, look at the last thing Naughty Dog said officially. What did they say? The last thing Naughty Dog said officially is, we need more time for our multiplayer game. But we're going to go move on to our single player game now. I mean, the messaging is clear, right? We're moving on from our multiplayer to our single player. That was the message. And a lot of people were very happy about that. I don't think that Bungie's going anywhere. I think Bungie, again, I think Bungie's just going to be a moneymaker for Sony. And Sony's all about the transmedia stuff with movies and all that, going beyond just the games. And Bungie wants to do that with Destiny, of course. They got Marathon. I think Bungie's separate. I think they're fine. I don't think Bungie is going to interfere necessarily anymore, if they ever did, with PlayStation Studios. They'll just make Sony money with their games. That is assuming Bungie doesn't like implode on themselves in the coming years, which hopefully that won't happen. But I do, see, here's where I'm confused a little bit, though. Here's where I'm confused. If this rumor's true that Sony's now pivoting away, and we heard recently that, and this was from David Jaffe, but we don't, a lot of people don't believe him, but there's just, and even Jason Schreier alluded to this previously. There's just this kind of this sentiment that PlayStation Studios are not that happy working on live service games, and many of those studios are working on live service games. See, this is weird because I don't know. This is weird because I just don't know that they can just turn to these studios and say, you know what? We fucked up. We're sorry for making you waste your time on this. Go make what you want. Because some of these games have been in development for a long time. Now, there is a potential. You're saying, why can't they course change? It's not that they can't. I mean, they can. It's just we have to understand that if they do actually decide to course change, let's face it, Firewalk, Haven, Bungie, these are 3 dedicated studios to live service games and multiplayer games. Like, they're going to release their games. Their games could be great. Their games could be terrible. They could be mid. We'll find out. But every other studio, Bend, for example, was Bend? We know that they were working on a new IP that would have multiplayer. Was it live service? Is this why there was internal strife? I don't know. Earlier, way back when after Days Gone launched, this is why I'm saying that 2024 is going to be so fucking important when it comes to the Sony showcase. And I get it. There's going to be a lot of people making jokes when Sony gets ready to do their next showcase, either making jokes or basically saying it's going to be another shit show. I'm going to be nervous. I'll be just totally transparent with you guys. Whenever Sony announces their next showcase, I'm going to be very nervous going into it because it cannot be anything less than great. If Sony has another bad showcase, we have some problems. We have some serious fucking problems. And that's where it's I'm willing to accept that maybe they have one bad year, one off year. They fucked up. Okay, it happens. It does. We hate it, but it happens. If 2024, June 2024 rolls around and Sony does a showcase and it's not much better or possibly even worse, unfortunately, we're going to have our answer, guys. And that is, there are quite a few people right now who want that to happen, to see Sony really fall from grace, and just hit the fucking ground. I definitely don't, because people have always asked me, MBG, what would it take for you to not really care about PlayStation anymore? And I've always said, if they stop making great games that I'm interested in playing consistently, like I'm willing to tolerate, you have an off year, maybe Forspoken isn't my jam and whatever, and Spider-Man 2 has been really good. Of course, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But 2024 has to be very different. No doubt about it. Sony has to get back to, where would I go? Well, it's not so much that I would go anywhere, but it's just, it would be so unfortunate if it's like, oh yeah, I'm just not really playing well, yeah, I guess you're right. I'd still play my multi-plat games, but it would just be unfortunate if it's like, hey guys, I'm not excited for any Sony games this year. Like, that would be crazy. That would be unheard of at this point. Where it's like, yeah, even when I was playing on Xbox last generation, I still couldn't help but notice how, like, oh my God, like, why Sony got so many great looking games, man? Like, I'm over there like, why does Microsoft not have anything at all that looks anywhere near as good as any of those games? And I mean, Sony just fucking killed it last generation, dude. And even so far up until this point, maybe up until 2023. And I look, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's one of two things, guys. Either Sony, they know exactly what they're doing, and they just had to, it could be that Sony maybe expected too much from the live service, and they realize now that it's just not going to work the way they thought it would. That doesn't necessarily mean, again, this is where I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't think that necessarily means that, well, their studios are fucked and every one of their studios was just mismanaged into oblivion, and now we got to have the remainder of the PS5 generation be a complete shit show. Look, here's the other side of the coin, though. That could be exactly what's about to happen. You see, this is where I hope people do understand that I am pretty fair at the end of the day, where I may have just talked to you a lot about Microsoft and how, I don't have the confidence in them, and this Activision Blizzard thing could go south and it could all implode on them and not work out. I'm willing to observe Sony and admit very easily, because it's just the truth, that the rest of this gen could be, I don't want to say in trouble. Maybe that's a bit, because I think the PS5 is guaranteed to be a success no matter what for the remainder of the gen. But we could, let me put it to you this way. When you think about the second half of the PS4 generation, how Sony was just boom, 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 like they were fucking nonstop, man. Just one banger after another. It could be the opposite this generation, where we will still get some banger games, like, we will get Ghost of Tsushima 2, but that's in 2026, and that's the only first-party single-player game in 2026. We are going to get Wolverine in 2025, and that's going to be the only single-player game from Sony first-party we get in 2025. We are going to get... Now, granted, maybe if you like line all these things up, that actually doesn't sound that bad. Where it's like, well, getting one really fucking good single player game a year, it's not enough, but it still counts for something. But that's where that's where I just start to wonder, like, all right, when is Sony going to put out Concord, and how is that going to land? What about Sony London's game? What is Bluepoint working on? Are they working on a single player game? I mean, we assume they are. Why the fuck would they be working on a multiplayer game? Is that what we're gonna find out? Dude, is that what we're gonna like? That would be some weird shit. Bluepoint Games is working on a multiplayer game. I'm not saying they are. I don't think they are, but that would be fucking crazy. Where I'd be like, who made them do that? Like that would be like some crazy ass twist where it's like, Because now that I'm thinking about it, we still have no idea what they're working on. We still have no idea what Blue Point's working on. I just don't look. I just want to see Sony. If they fucked up with Jim Ryan at the end of the day, as time goes on, if it becomes clear, like we let Jim Ryan steer the ship and he said games as a service, and we let him run rampant with that, and it just all went to shit. I could accept that as long as Sony makes it clear, and we're reversing that now. Okay? Like we were about to just go way off a cliff and blow everything up, and we stopped just as we're about to go off. We stopped. We're bringing it back. Yeah, it would suck because it would mean that, well, it's going to take some time to recover from that. A lot of wasted time, development resources. But I would be okay with that because it's like, well, good, you guys are going back to what you should have stayed with the whole time. But maybe that's not, again, that's worst case scenario. That is, yeah, you're right. Shareholders would not be having that shit. You are right about that. Maybe that's why Sony's being so like fucking quiet, where they're like, we got to do this shit. Got to keep it on the down low. They're making all their devs sign like extreme NDAs, like you don't say shit. We're coming for you. That would suck. That's worst case scenario though. Best case scenario is these live service games are going to be 50-50. Some of them are okay and like, oh yeah, that's fine. Sony has some multiplayer games now. Some of them are total ass and get canceled, or at the very least, like they die within a couple months and they're basically like they just get swept under the rug like they never happened. And we just got to wait to see what that studio does next. I know I'm saying that's best case scenario, but there's still many other studios in Sony that are going to kick ass. And basically, I don't know, man. The future is so unclear because no one has any answers right now. Sony isn't worried, clearly, in the short term. They're about to break a record. But in terms of their studios and their games, I don't know. Perfect Image says, at the end of the year, are they going to the Game Awards show? It hasn't been announced yet. Like, Jeff Keighley hasn't announced who's going to be attending the Game Awards, but Sony's going to be there, of course. And I don't know. I do not know, man. Something I could see Sony doing is... All right, so I'll say this. If Sony is in a bad predicament right now, development-wise, like if it turns out that, again, if we're just going with the worst-case scenario, if they're like, okay, we went all in on live service, that was a mistake, we got to undo a lot of these mistakes. It's going to take time, but we got to do it now. We got to rip the Band-Aid off. If that's what's happening, what I could see Sony doing is aggressively trying to lock down major third-party, even more major third-party exclusives to save them, basically. To be like, listen, you're going to hate the game that, I don't know, what fucking studio should I use right now? You're going to hate Guerrilla's Horizon multiplayer game, but we just got to put it out because we put a bunch of time and money into it. So sorry, we know that's not what you wanted from PlayStation Studios. However, we got this game exclusively. I don't know, just name a major big third-party game. That Elden Ring 2, fuck it. I don't think that would happen, but just for shits and giggles, we got Elden Ring 2. We fucking paid the money. We did it. We made it happen. We got Elden Ring 2 exclusively. Nobody will give a fuck at that point. If Sony could release 3 shit live service games that year, if they come out and they're like, yeah, we got Elden Ring 2 exclusive to the PS5. Okay. Like, that's it. Well, there you go. You're good. You don't have to worry about anything. Now you're, or yeah, there you go, dude. Sony has that break glass in case of emergency, and inside of it, it's Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne remake. You know that they'll fucking break that glass if they have to. You're saying they do not have the leverage. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the game, man. It does. I think in some case, like for a game like Elden Ring 2, I don't know. Sony would have to pay a shit ton of money to make something like that exclusive. Like, I mean, they would have to probably pay an unreasonable amount of money, and I don't know that they would want to do that. But I don't know, dude. I wish I could tell you. You know what's driving me nuts right now is there's all this like little shit here and there leaking out. You guys notice this? It's like, oh, we're a little bit here, a little bit there. Dude, there's no clarity. Like no one in this entire industry has come out and said, this is what's going on at PlayStation Studios. No one. And that's fucking weird to me because it's like, you're telling me no one? You like this is a hot talking point right now. You would think somebody would have come out by now and said, I did the digging. I talked to the sources. This is what's happening. No one, man. And that's a little spooky to me. Yeah, I mean it's basically all rumors, all hearsay. It is kind of spooky. Like it's spooky. It is creepy because it's just like, what is going on? And it's just uncertainty. You're saying fans are conspiracy theorists. That's not reality. Dark Horse, sorry, man, I missed your chat. You're saying here, does that mean Bungie buys themselves out then? I have no idea. I mean, that's a situation where there could be a clause in their contract where they could do something like that. I'm not sure. You're honestly probably, yeah, it is Bungie. I doubt that they signed a contract without putting something like that in there because they've gotten out of every entanglement that they've been in. Which is crazy to think. They've gotten away from Microsoft. They've gotten away from Activision. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to get away from Sony. I would not be surprised. And now I'll tell you, if that were to happen, I'm not saying it's going to. I actually don't think it will. But if Bungie and Sony were to end up breaking up, that tells you that would be the clear-cut answer. Like, yeah, we're not doing this. But that sounds crazy, dude. They spent a lot of money on Bungie. They spent a lot of fucking money on, but dude, they spent $1 billion in retention. Shit. Okay. So, yeah, when it comes to this rumor regarding Sony reversing their games as a service push, partnering with Sega and Bandai Namco, time will tell, man. Time will tell. All right, guys, one more time here. All right, we got still almost 500 people here watching, which is awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for so long. Please take a moment out of your time. Hit that like button for me, okay? We're sitting at 340 likes. We could easily crush 350, easily, but I think we could go well beyond 350. I'd really appreciate that. It helps a lot. So it lets me know you guys really enjoy the streams. Hit that like button. Let me see what else we have left to talk about. I have an article here from Push Square. It says Sony does a lot behind the scenes to ensure high-quality PS5 exclusives. While it doesn't have a flawless track record, it's fair to say that most PlayStation Studios releases are of high quality. Many of the company's games secure strong Metacritic ratings, and in an interview with Barron's, bigwig Eric Lempel admitted that management is humbled by the game's critical receptions. However, he hinted that a lot of work goes on behind the scenes to ensure such success. It comes down to how we're managing the studios and each individual title, he said, of the secrets of the organization's impressive record. It's our focus on quality. That's what's most important. It represents PlayStation. We are humbled by how good these titles are. In some cases, behind the scenes, we will do a lot to make sure that the studio has what they need to put out a quality title. See, this is music to my ears, man. Like, this right here could be why Sony is potentially pivoting away from live service, man, because he's saying that everything that they want to do, or like their main focus, quality, our focus is quality. That's our number one thing. Yeah, well, live service is like the opposite of that, at least at first. Like live service, even Bungie, again, and Bungie themselves admit it, like quantity over quality. So if that's true, you could kind of see how maybe they're like, well, is it like, I'm pointing this out because I think that this is obvious and this is good. This is what separates Sony in a lot of ways from a lot of other publishers and developers. But you almost have to begin to wonder, is Sony basically asking the impossible from their studios? Where they're like, we want that level of quality, but it has to be live service. And it's like, those two things don't mix, my guy. And Sony's like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, it's just, that's not how that works. I don't know. Just some more food for thought. But I love to hear it. All right, let's see. So, something else I forgot to talk to you guys about, but this is actually really interesting. It's been officially confirmed that Insomniac's Wolverine is going to exist in the same universe as Insomniac's Spider-Man. I don't think that this is shocking, but we still didn't know for sure. Speaking on Kind of Funny Games, Brian Intihar said they're all 1048 when asked by host Greg Miller if the upcoming Wolverine game and the current Spider-Man titles exist in the same version of the Marvel universe. By him saying they're all 1048, it refers to the revisions of the revision of the Marvel universe that they share. There was a decision not to do it, I think, for us. We wanted to let the team cook, and who knows what the future holds. But right now, let's let them do their thing. So, he just straight up confirms it. They're all 1048, as he puts it. So, I don't know how I feel about that. All you guys are saying that's good. It is good because it means that we could see some crossover stuff, right? But at the same time, though, it does make you think. We want like a really truly brutal Wolverine game, something that's a hard, mature rating. So this idea that Wolverine could cross paths with Spider-Man, I don't know how that mix. Could that? How would that work there? But we'll see. Could be in the same universe, but a different timeline. Yeah, okay. Actually, yeah, good call there. I didn't think about that. It's going to be T for teen. Dude, if Insomniac's Wolverine's T for teen, I won't buy it. No, yeah, I know. He said it's going to be dark. Yeah, Brian Horton is the director of Wolverine. He said it's going to be dark, mature tone. So I have a lot of hope. I do. I have a lot of hope in Wolverine. I do. I want to see Insomniac do their absolute best work they've ever fucking done on Wolverine. Because I think they can. M-rated game. Gritty. Dark. Brutal. I want to see some Logan level shit. Okay? I want them dropping F-bombs. Could we get that? I mean, do you think we could get that? Or do you think I'm asking too much? Like, I want to see like Last of Us Wolverine. Okay? like that's basically what I'm asking for right now. Am I asking too much? Yellow, yeah, I don't know what they're definitely gonna have to do a uniform, right? Or not, or out like the traditional outfit so they can have a bunch of different options. Maybe? I don't know. Hopefully MBG is a pro by then, so it doesn't have to play at 30 frames. Yeah, I mean, we probably will have a pro by then. Orange doesn't forget, man. Dude, I remember that. I put out that tweet where I was like, Wolverine's going to be a hard R. And I came back and it was trending. And I was like, oops, not for the reason I thought it would. Like, I knew Spider-Man 2 was going to be darker in tone a little bit. But I don't know that I expected it to be like I guess what I'm trying to say is when I think about Wolverine for Insomniac having a dark tone and a mature tone, I mean, it's very much nothing like Spider-Man 2. Well, without spoiling anything, I won't give any spoilers, but there is one section in Spider-Man 2 where things, I think, achieved peak darkness. I'll put it that way. Peak maturity, I guess you could say. And that, I felt, was kind of a glimpse into, oh, okay, like, let's get more of this. Let's go, this is like maybe a good little beginning, a little tease of what could potentially happen. And no, I'm not. For those wondering, is Wolverine, does she show up in Spider-Man 2? No, I'm not talking. No. So, you're saying apocalyptic old man Logan game would be kick ass. I don't think it's going to be that though. Like, I think they're going to, I think it's going to be an origin story, and it should be. It should be, because I mean, they have the potential to make a lot of Wolverine games, right? Let it be an origin story. I would be okay with that. Do I want it to be linear or open world? It's a great question. I mean, I like linear games a lot. But I feel like Insomniac, the thing I like about Insomniac's open world is it doesn't feel overwhelming. If they could do justice to it, if they could do it right, and I don't know where the game would be set, but I mean, I saw people kind of talking about the idea of like Logan having like a motorcycle he can ride. I mean, that sounds like it'd be fucking awesome, dude. But maybe like wide linear potentially, yeah. See, this is why I'm so excited to see Wolverine, because we have no idea. It's not going to be set in New York City. We know that. And you're talking this is also why I don't think Wolverine's coming out in 2024. Because I mean, they're doing everything from the ground up. They got to, if it is open world, they have to create a whole new world. Even if it's not, they still have to create everything from scratch. So, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'd rather them take their time and really set it apart, make it feel very different. I know there's like a lot of people where it's like, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to see Insomniac do more Marvel. But Wolverine is like my assumption, especially based off of everything we know, is Wolverine's going to be very different from Spider-Man. I mean, like very different. Like maybe like they'll share like similar upgrade paths and systems and stuff like that, or not. I think it would be great if they didn't. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I guess I'm just saying that, like, if Brian Horton being the creative director, if he's like, we want everything to just be totally different and unique and unique to this Wolverine game, where the menus look different, the way the upgrades work is different. I'm not saying you have to like inject RPG mechanics or anything like that, but just totally different. I think Wolverine deserves that. I don't want it to feel like I don't want it to feel similar in any way to Spider-Man 2, except for the game looks beautiful and it feels great to play. Those are the only similarities I want. Everything else, I want it to feel fresh. I want it to feel different. Again, I want it to feel unique. Saying MBG, I thought the trailer was shown was Canada. Well, see, that's where I don't know, unless I missed something. Maybe there was like a Easter egg, but it was in a bar. So it's funny too. I was thinking how like a lot of people, they updated Peter Parker's face for Spider-Man 2, and a lot of people feel like they purposely made the new Peter Parker face look very similar to Tom Holland. And I think that's true. I'm not saying he looks identical to Tom Holland, but he shares a lot of similarities. I'll tell you right now, I am not at all opposed to them deciding, let's make this Insomniac Wolverine look similar to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Because in my opinion, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, bro. And, he's, I got to be honest, like, I've always been into Wolverine from the comics, of course, but mainly, like, the shows that I watched growing up, I always liked Wolverine. But really, when Hugh Jackman brought him to life, in the movies, I mean, I really was like, okay, all right, this shit's amazing. And even still today, man, the fact that he's coming back for the Deadpool movie, I feel super sorry for anybody who has to fill his shoes when he truly retires from Wolverine. But I'm just saying, if they were to use his likeness, I'd be totally okay with that. Saying I should try Wolverine anime. What's it called? Is there a name for it? That actually sounds really interesting. I didn't know there was an anime. Shit. Get Troy Baker to do a Joel voice for Logan. That could work. That could work. As long as he's 5'2" or 5'3". It's a short series. Interesting. I have to look into it. Well, guys, I think this is where I'm gonna bring the stream to an end, because it is actually getting pretty late on my end, and I definitely don't stream at this time. And I feel so weird right now because this is just not a normal time I stream, and I'm also out of topics. I did stream for like an hour and a half earlier, so all in all, I basically streamed for 4.5 hours today. So, and I see a lot of you guys saying it's really late where you are. I mean, I appreciate the ride or die, man. I know a lot of my regular people weren't able to show up too because they're just, again, it's just not a normal time. But, I felt really bad. Sunday is usually a stream day that I know a lot of people look forward to. And, YouTube was having some really bad technical issues earlier, broke the stream. But I'm glad we were able to come back strong, and I was able to deliver the stream with all the topics I wanted to talk about. So, big shout out to you guys. So yeah, as you can see, it says for some reason 32 memberships. Today we got a total of 30 memberships, all in all. Those memberships came earlier today from I think like Corey Landiga, Chris B, and Hellbound. So we got 30 memberships. I got some super chats earlier, got some super chats here. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you for all of the support. Really, it means a lot. Domingo813 says, just to reiterate, I really hate shrinkage. Shrinkage. What a great way to end the stream, Domingo813. Really appreciate that. Domingo donated 2 super chats to just let us know how much he hates shrinkage. Thank you for that, man. I'm going to sleep easy tonight knowing. No, really, I do appreciate the super chat, bud. But one last time, sorry if I'm harassing you guys, but as you're leaving the stream, just do me a favor and hit that like button. That really helps the stream out. And actually, before we go here, we have a $20 super chat coming in the 11th hour here from Easy E. Really appreciate that, bud. You're saying Logan decides to transition after his trans black daughter is killed by an alt-right man from Alabama. The doctor decides to not only change Logan's sex, but also give him adamantium claws. Woke Vereen. Oh my God. You know, I was about to sleep peaceful tonight. From Domingo's super chat saying he hates shrinkage. But man, this super chat is going to give me straight up nightmares now, bro. Wokerine. Oh my God. Oh man, that is holy shit. I mean, dude, I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that, man. That is some wild shit. From Alabama. Oh man. Well, Easy E, I very much appreciate it, dude. We'll see. I mean, I will say, Easy E, I know, I'm just going to have to end the stream right now. That's it. I'm just going to end it. I will say this, Easy E. I would like to think that if they were going to go in that direction with Wolverine, they would have given some kind of inclination in the original trailer. But then again, that trailer came out years ago, so hell no, man. I can't live in that reality. So, Easy E, I expect a follow-up super chat next stream where you give me a description of everything we want to hear, bro. Because I can't deal with this. But thank you so much, man. Thank you for the $20 super chat. That's very kind of you. And gotta just, again, give a hand to all of you guys. The support is incredible. I love having these talks. I love having you guys here, being able to just talk games. I know there's a lot of trolls and stuff, but you know, cutting through all that, you guys are the most important thing. You guys matter more than anything when it comes to this channel. And thank you, really, sincerely. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps. Sorry, Devil Shooter. It's cool if you can't get them done, you know, soon. I know things are a little bit all over the place today, but if you see him in the comments, give him a thank you. I know he really appreciates that. And Devil Shooter's also saying just look up Wolverine anime on YouTube. So it is on YouTube. Okay. Maybe I will check that out, man. But that's it, guys. I got to go get some rest, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. So hit that like button on your way out. Thank you all so much, and I will catch you in the next one. So Devil Shooter says I underestimate him. Maybe I do, man. I appreciate everything you do for the channel. Just saying, don't stress yourself out over it, but thank you nonetheless, man. All right, guys, that does it. That's a wrap. I will catch you in the next one. Take care, everyone.